2014. And before we get started, if everyone could check your electronic devices, make sure they're either turned down or shut off. Next thing I'll talk about is if you plan addressing the board, please sign in at the podium with your name and address before addressing the board. First matter before us is a continuance. This is ZB 2014-37. The petitions of variance. The applicant is Aurelio Novo. The property is located at 11 Ionian Circle. The petition. The applicant is seeking variance approval for a development located at 11 Ionian Circle. The proposal consists of constructing an addition and garage on the building. Without meeting side yard setback requirements, the proposed project is located in the suburban single-family zoning district and requires variance approval under section 5.1 of the Lowell zoning ordinance. Good evening, sir. How are you?
How you doing?
So the last time you were in was on August 11th, and I believe Friday we received some revised plans, a couple of things that we had asked for. So if you could either walk us through, if you want to talk about why you're here in the beginning, or if you want to just talk about what was resubmitted, I'll give you an open option, whatever you want to do.
Sure. Well, like you said previously, you had asked for a little more information, primarily the elevations of what this addition would look like, in addition to kind of putting something on a plan that shows what the footages are between my house and my neighbor's fence, because you had said that it is crooked, and in fact it is. So what I sent in was I drew up elevations from all four sides of my house, showing the addition of the garage and the room above, as well as the rear elevation showing the kind of family great room that we're looking to build off the back of the house. So that all lines up with the site plan or the plot plan that I submitted. So the footages are exactly the same with the setbacks that are shown in that site plan or plot plan. And as if you look at the other plan that I sent in from Google Maps, you can see that where my neighbor has his fence today is quite further off than where he probably should have it. And, you know, they're totally fine with leaving their fence where it is. They're fine with the addition that we're putting in. My addition is going to be 3 feet off their property line regardless at the tightest point. So that's why I'm here filing for that variance.
Excuse me. You say you're going to be 3 feet off, so the simulation that you sent us here where you showed the different measurements, so where exactly you're talking about the 3 feet?
If you look at the, I don't know if you have it in front of you, but the proposed plot plan
Yep.
that I submitted,
Yep.
you can see on the proposed plot, there's a corner of the, call it one-car garage addition that is roughly 3 feet off of their property line. So, again, that's based on, you know, the plot plan. Off the simulation, where they have their fence today is they're a lot further within their property line. So in reality, once this gets built, I'm going to be probably like 7 feet off of their fence. And again, they have no intentions of moving their fence.
Yeah, well, I guess, I know they have no intention of moving their fence, but their fence is on your property, right?
No, it's not. It's not.
Okay, so that's why I'm asking the question, and this is what I brought up the first time, is how their fence primarily, I'll say, bows out over the property line in the vicinity of where you wanted to build. So that's why I'm trying to understand exactly, when you talk 3 feet, where exactly is the 3 feet on the, I'll call it the rendition you sent us for the second time? In other words, you have 23 feet, you got 21.7, 25. Where exactly are we talking about the 3 feet?
The 3 feet is roughly gonna be where you see, call it the 23-foot marker,
Yep,
the little arrow right there. If if you do the math between that distance and what I'm proposing, I'm still gonna be well within my property line, which is 3 feet, while their fence is within their property line, right? They didn't come out to their property line initially because we had a ton of trees there. So they just chose to kind of come back into their own property line and build a fence. So in reality, they could actually come out further if they wanted to. So worst case scenario, if they, for some reason, decide, you know what, I want to straighten out this fence, they can, and they'll be 3 feet away from my addition. So that's why that's the worst case scenario.
okay. So, what else would you like to tell us about so this is what you submitted for the elevations?
Yes.
Can you just walk me through, I don't know how much we really talked about, well, first of all, I don't think we had anything like this.
No, you didn't.
Which was elevations, but I
Right.
don't think we really talked about the structures that you're putting in. Can you kind of just walk the board through
Sure.
exactly what you're putting in?
The bottom left is a proposed front elevation addition, which in the dashed area shows roughly a 14-foot, one-car garage with a bedroom above the garage, attached to the home, obviously. The bottom right proposes the side elevation, which you can see the garage going roughly 22 feet along the width of the house, in addition to about a 16-foot family room that we're planning to put off the back of the house. On the top left, just a different view from the other side of the house. You can see the other side of the family room. And on the top right is the rear view depicting the garage, the one bedroom above, plus the addition off the back. And if you look at the addition coming off the back, the little family room there, I'm also putting a little bit of a setback off the corner of the garage, just again to kind of give a little more breathing room to staying off the property line. Initially, I wanted to go all the way, but, I'm fine with that size of an addition anyway, regardless.
Okay. Anything else you'd like to add at this point?
No, yeah,
Okay,
that's about it.
okay. I'm going to open it up to the public. Anyone here would like to speak in favor of this petition? In favor? In favor? Hearing none. That portion of the public hearing is closed. Anyone like to speak in opposition? 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 Hearing none. That portion of public hearing is closed. Open the board. Mike?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't have any questions. The applicant, at least in my opinion, did what we asked him to do about a month ago, did clarify, because I was also confused about the plot or the lot line and the fencing, and you gave us the elevation. So I'm all set, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. Van?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, to the applicant, I just want to say thank you for accommodating the board's wishes and working with the planning board. I mean, DPD to render this elevation in the site plan. As I said before, I think this fits in line with the neighborhood and the character of the street and everything. So I think overall this is a good project, and I wish you well, sir.
Thank you.
Sorry. Thanks, Van. Dennis?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I didn't get a chance to talk to you last time you were here, I was out, but I just want to understand, the garage addition is set back so that it's crowding the property line more than if you pulled it forward, you'd be giving yourself more room on the property line. So is the 3 feet something that, I'm not sure why you chose 3 feet as the correct dimension to be off your property line?
The reason is if I want to construct a one-car garage, from what I've done my research on, a decent-sized one-car garage is about 14 feet wide. And so when I build out 14 feet at the tightest point going back all the way to my house, that back portion is 3 feet off of the property line. So, if you said, you can only build a 12-foot car garage, now that 3 feet becomes 5 feet. So I'm shooting for the 14 feet because it gives me a little more room.
Did you look at arranging the garage on the lot in another way so that you could get to 5 feet? Only because I feel from a standpoint of what the city offers for setbacks, for side yard setbacks, I think the minimum setback in residential areas is 5 feet. So I'm not sure why we would be looking at relaxing the minimum that we offer to 3 feet. So I agree, a 14-foot garage is much more serviceable for people to use. And I was just wondering if you pulled the garage forward on the lot, you could potentially get to the 5 feet because of the angle that you have on that set side yard property line.
If I push it forward towards the street, is that what you're insinuating?
Well, it does get wider, right? The whole, that side yard property line is not parallel to the
Right,
structure.
right, so if I were to push the structure forward, it just doesn't go with the characteristic of the neighborhood houses.
The way the garages are all set
Right,
back.
they're all set back 2 feet off of the front facade.
Yep.
So I'm trying to stay consistent with the appeal of the neighborhood.
Okay, I understand. And the adjacent property does have the majority of the structure is set quite a distance away from the property line. So, and it actually has a very generous lot. 3 feet, wow. Pretty tight. Okay, no further questions. Thank you.
Yeah. Judy, question for you. Did DPD, after you looked at the elevations and the other, I guess, measurements that the petitioner, were there any, I didn't see any comments came from DPD, any comments you
No,
want to make?
there weren't any additional
Okay.
comments made.
Okay. So how much relief is the petition actually looking for?
So it's a 10, some 25,
Mhm.
and I believe he does have 10, a little more than, oh, I'm sorry, he's got 15 on the opposite side. So the side where the garage and the addition is going really needs to have 10. So at his narrowest point, as he says, it's 3. So the relief he's looking for is 7.
Okay, thank you. Gary?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I do appreciate the petitioner coming back. I was thinking the same thing, trying to jog that forward. I'd be more relieved with relief than I would be with the consistency of the neighborhood, but, I do appreciate you taking the time and, getting us the elevation. That was a big question I had
Yeah.
when you were in last time, so I appreciate it.
No problem.
Thank you. Sean?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have no comments or questions at this time. Thanks.
Okay. All right, so we're talking 7 feet is the amount of variance. And is that all we're talking about, Judy? Is that the only?
Yes, it's just a side variance, yes.
Okay. And based on your resubmittal, you're basically telling the board there's no way to reduce that, kind of back to Dennis's question, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. So Judy, does the fence play at anything at all into the 7 feet, or is this strictly the property line?
Actually, it is strictly the
Yep.
property line, because that fence, as he says, is well within the neighbor's property.
Yep. Okay. All right. Any other comments from the board members? Okay. Couple of questions or comments that came from the city originally. There was a comment here about erosion control measures. Did you look into that at all?
No, I wanted to kind of, I guess, clarify or get past this step.
Okay, so Judy, is that something the petitioner can work with DPD on?
Yes, as far as erosion control measures during construction, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the other, if we want to talk about conditions, there was the mention of the paving permit, which generally takes place.
From the engineering department, yep.
So do we want to, is that something we should condition here, or is that something that, because I know he'd be doing something different with the, so with the existing driveway, that's going to stay in place, correct? Or were you
For-
going to extend?
Yeah,
I think you mentioned something about the first
Yeah,
time.
I'm essentially going to tear it all up at the end and repave the whole thing with an extension.
Yep, okay, so we'll put that in as a condition too for the driveway permit. And any other conditions from any of the other board members? Okay, well, I think you told the board, you've been there for a few years, you'd like to continue to stay there with your family. I mean, I don't have a lot of opposition, it's just that the way that, I guess the fence really kind of bothers me, but that's, like I told you the first time we met, that's between you and your neighbor.
Yeah.
The project you want to put in there, I think at the end of the day is going to look very nice, and you seem to have a very good plan here. And with no other comments from any of the other board members, if I could have a motion, please. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion for continuance ZB 2014-037 for a variance for building a garage without meeting side yard setback requirements with the following conditions. That the applicant will work with DPD to establish erosion control measures during construction. And a second condition will be that the applicant will receive a permit to repave the driveway from the engineering department.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Chairman Bailey,
Approved with conditions.
Member Callahan,
Approve with conditions.
Member McCarthy,
Approve with conditions.
Member Paglia,
Approved with conditions.
Member Peck,
Approve with conditions.
Member Perrin,
Approve with conditions.
All right, thank you very much.
So our next section is under new business. I'm going to take the agenda just slightly out of order. Is the petitioner here for 65 Fort Hill Ave? I'm sorry? Okay, could I have you? Okay, we're gonna take this petition next. This is ZB 2014-50. The petition's a special permit and variance. The applicant is Derek Mitchell and Lydia Sisson, property located at 65 Fort Hill Ave. And the petition to change a single-family into a two-family without meeting dimensional or parking requirements pursuant to section 4.54, 5.1, 6.11 of the zoning ordinance. Good evening. Would you like to tell us about your petition?
Yes, so this actually isn't changing the property at all. It's just formally changing the zoning. We recently bought this family. It was listed as a two-family. We closed as a two-family. It had been assessed as a two-family for all the recent history taxed as a two-family, pulled permits as a two-family. We found out after the fact that it was still zoned as a one-family. And so we're just trying to do the correct thing and zone it legally. It's in a traditional multifamily neighborhood. All of the adjacent properties are multifamilies. But the reason why we need a petition is because it doesn't have sufficient off-street parking. There's only one off-street parking space, and the lot size is a little bit too small. But we're not looking to make any amendments to the property at this point.
So when I went by the property, so I noticed looks like there may be parking for one car or one vehicle, I should say, but
Right.
the issue I saw was we've gone through this before, if there's like a large vehicle, an extended vehicle, I'm not sure on the dimensions, but that vehicle, I don't know if the city looked at this, could extend into the
Sidewalk.
sidewalk. Have you actually taken a look at that or tried to determine what can be parked in there?
We were under the impression that it was accommodating as a full parking spot. There's been somebody there parking for.
Yeah, and I know, we'll say it's pre-existing, but I know the day I went by, there was actually like a Suburban or something back there.
Right.
Of course, figures. But that was just something that I had noticed. So if we say you might have one parking spot there, and then I noticed there was the sign up for the city parking, so that's only for one vehicle, right?
In front of the property, yeah.
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 And I noticed pretty much that whole street is multifamily, and everybody seems to have, maybe room for 2 to 4 cars, and others, like your property, probably only has the one spot and one front, so you really only have 2, so.
Right.
I don't know what they do to fight it out for parking spots, but I guess if you have permitted parking in front, you gotta go find somewhere to park.
Yeah, I haven't had an issue parking there. Again, you mentioned that there are off-street parking spots in some of the adjacent houses, and especially the corner lot has parking. So there's a number of spots very close by that.
Have you already closed on the property? And
We did back in the spring.
well, again, today I sat out front. I think you had people in there painting. I don't know if I saw you in there painting, but I saw some people in there painting. So
I think that was our tenants. Yeah.
okay. All right. Anything else you'd like to tell us?
No, we're just we're trying to do it right. The property's exchanged hands, I think, 4 times in the last decade, and for as long as anybody's known, this has been assessed as a multifamily. So we thought that would be the responsible thing to do to zone it legally.
Okay. Judy, any other comments from the city in regards to what Mr. Mitchell just explained as far as past, not even ownership, but how the city's treated this property?
No, we didn't get any other comments. Swati did review this, and she did not get any specific comments from other
Yeah, and I know,
departments.
again, with the city comments, the specific comments section, the purpose of the petition, formally legalize use without altering the existing conditions. Okay. All right, anything else before I open it up to the public? Nope?
No.
All right, anyone here like to speak in favor of this petition? In favor, in favor? Hearing none, that portion of public hearing is closed. Anyone like to speak in opposition? Opposition, opposition? Hearing none, that portion of public hearing is closed. Mike?
Mr. Chairman, I don't have any questions of the petitioner. Again, I think this is really considered as an administrative matter, as DPD has said in their comments, and as the brief discussion has revealed, this home has been, in this neighborhood has been multifamily, or at least 2-family, for a number of years, and the petitioner is just trying to formalize that designation. So, thank you.
Van?
No comments, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Dennis?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I just think that the petition is doing the right thing, definitely, to come and try to solve this And judging from the site plan submitted, that it looks like you actually could have 3 spaces counting 2 in front of the property. And really, the saving grace I see that you have is that you're adjacent to a corner lot that obviously has more frontage than it would normally need for the 6 spaces that it would require for 3-family. And I think they probably have off-street parking as well, so.
Yeah, they do.
So it looks like you have parking capacity to spare. So winter's always a problem on that street, though.
Between the 2 units, there's only 1 car, so they don't have an issue right now.
True, but still winter would be a problem
Right,
for future tenants. But that's just always a challenge on these streets. But judging from the neighbors and the participation, that everyone seems to be accepting of things the way they are. So good luck with the property.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Gary?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, just to go back on your introduction, you're not going to reside there. This is a rental property.
That's true, yeah. I live just up the street, but this
Yeah.
won't be a primary residence.
Okay. Now, I mean, the only concern is, just moving forward with the parking and, your residents now have 1 car. In the future, they may not. To the spoils go the victor. You came into a situation that
Right.
was being taxed and lived at.
Yeah.
So I certainly understand the petition, and
Yep.
I do support it. Best of luck.
Thanks.
Thank you. Sean?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I had no questions, but I do share the sentiments with regards to the parking as far as the chairman and the rest of the board do. But I do want to commend the petitioner for, this property has been, single family for quite some time, and the petitioner doing the right thing to come before the board to get that all straightened out and going forward. So,
Thanks.
but, thanks.
So, excuse me. So Judy, is it both the special permit and the variance, or is it just the variance we're talking about? Because the agenda is special permit and variance, yet,
Yeah, section 454
yeah.
is a special permit, I believe. 5.1 is dimensional. And 6.110, so it may be reconstruction of an existing non-conforming.
Yeah, because we're going to have to take 2 separate votes if we're doing
Yep.
the special permit and the variance, correct? So I just wanted to make sure the special permit, I didn't know if it had to do with the nonconformity, or if there was something else we were referencing before we take the vote.
No, actually, as I look at the application, it is just variance. It is just variance, minimum lot size, minimum frontage, minimum side yard. Yeah, and 454, that was my mistake, is a variance. That's not a special permit, that's a
Right.
variance.
Okay. Okay, so as far as, meeting the, I think we all know the purpose and intent, and the city recognizes why you're here. So as far as meeting the prerequisites, you meet them, and we just want to set the record straight here. So I think each of the board members is in favor of that. So if I could have a motion, please.
Through you,
Just
Mr.
on the
Chairman.
variance.
I'd like to make a motion for the ZB 2014-050 for a variance for 65 Fort Hill Ave to change a single family into a 2-family without meeting dimensional or parking requirements.
Have a second?
Second?
Roll call?
Chairman Bailey?
Approved.
Member Callahan?
Approved.
Member McCarthy?
Approve.
Member Paglia?
Approved.
Member Peck?
Approve.
Member Perrin?
Approve.
Okay, Mr. Mitchell, you've been approved. Wish you best of luck.
Thanks very much.
Yep, you're welcome. Okay, I'll go back to our order of business. It's still under new business, CB 2014-46. Petitions a special permit. The applicant is Bell Atlantic Mobile of Mass Corp., property located at 175 Old Canal Drive, and the petition to construct a new 100-foot telecommunications monopole with an 11.5-foot by 26-foot equipment shelter and other associated equipment pursuant to section 7.6 and 11.3 of the zoning ordinance. And before you start, sir, I have to ask a question. Judy, I visited the property, I think, 3 times. I know they went before planning board. Was there anything posted for the public meeting?
The sign posting on the property? Yes, when I talked to Joe today, there was a question, and I believe we got a phone call from a member of the public about that, and Joe did tell me specifically it was posted.
Where is it?
You know, I don't recall, because this is set back very far from actually the public right-of-way.
Right, but if I read through all the language, and we've had 3 different petitions on Old Canal, and every time I've had to do this. I drove, that should be posted actually out in front of, 175, you got 175 and 179. I couldn't find it anywhere, and I wasn't gonna drive inside, because that serves no purpose.
Yeah.
If I look through the regulations, no. I actually watched the planning board. I know it didn't come up there, but I don't see it posted anywhere. It's not in the window, it should be actually posted in the ground. And by
And how long is that supposed to be?
14 days prior to.
So for the 14 days prior to
Meeting.
this meeting?
Yep.
Okay, we can repost that. I believe we had done that quite early on in the process, because I don't remember it saying 14
And
days.
I know there
too.
was somebody there from the tenant next door, and I know the notifications went up, but there wasn't so if somebody can tell me where the posting is, great. If not.
Yeah, I don't know
As
that
I told
it's-
everybody else, I hate to do this, but that's the rules, and,
I don't know that it's there right now, and I wasn't clear that that was required.
well, that's why I'm asking the question.
Yeah, I don't know that it's there right now. I don't think that it is.
So,
Was
I-
there an issue that someone was looking for it, or?
No, it's got nothing to do with it.
Okay.
That's a requirement. It's in the city bylaws. And it's a requirement of any special permit, variance. So I just wanted to ask, I couldn't find it. Went by 3 different times. That's how desperate I am.
Okay, so,
So we need to, so Judy, I'll defer to you that we need to, unfortunately, reschedule this, and we'll have to repost it. So I'll let yourself and the city, the DPD, work it out as far as when our next meeting is, but,
okay, and then we post for the 14 days before that meeting. When we do put that up, I'll send a picture of it
Yep.
to the board.
nope, just make sure it's posted where it should be.
Okay,
And because we have nothing else, we have no lives, I especially have no life if I go by property 3 times, but.
so where exactly would the board prefer?
I think
that
if
we
you read
post it?
the posting and you work with the city, they'll tell you exactly the footage. Hate to do it, but that's the rules.
Okay.
So, Judy, at this point, I don't think we're gonna meet the 14-day rule. Our next meeting, I think, is on, well, maybe we will, because the next meeting's on a Thursday, I believe, October 10th? 16th?
Yes, it's actually the 16th.
Oh, well, that's because, didn't put the glasses on. Yep, 16th.
Yeah, so that does.
So I would say if you
Yeah.
can, so let's do this. I would say if you can take care of this in the next couple of days, should be able to make the 14-day rule.
Okay.
So at this point, I guess we'll continue it to the 16th, and if the posting doesn't happen within the 14 days, then we'll just have to continue it from that point.
So we're continuing to the 16th.
Yep. So right now, we're going to continue it to the 16th of October. All right, sir?
And as far as the actual instructions as to where precisely it should be posted, we're getting those from DPD?
Well, you can work with Judy's office. They'll be more than happy to explain to you.
Okay,
All right, sir?
great, thank you.
All right, could I have a motion to continue?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion for ZB 2014-046 for a special permit for 175 Old Canal Drive to continue to October 16th.
Have a second?
Second the motion.
Roll call?
Chairman Bailey?
Continue to October 16th.
Member Callahan?
Continue October 16th.
Member McCarthy?
Continue to October 16th.
Member Paglia?
Continue to October 16th.
Member Peck?
Continue to October 16th.
Member Perrin?
Continue to October 16th.
All right, so hopefully we'll see you on the 16th, sir. Thank you. Okay, and next matter before us is ZB 2014-48, petition special permit. The applicant is Patriot Care Corp., property located at 70 Industrial Ave East. The petition to renovate currently vacant space for the purposes of operation of a medical marijuana dispensary pursuant to section 11.3 and 12.3K of the zoning ordinance. Mr. Flood?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, James Flood, 549 Roger Street, Lowell, Mass., representing the petitioner, Patriot Care Corp. Could I just pass these out before?
Thank you.
Just before we start, let me just tell you what's in that handout. The first document is the mission statement for the petitioner. The second document is a letter from the town of South Hadley and telling you people the experiences they had up there. A letter from the town of Greenfield, the same purpose. Then I've given you a copy of the letter of non-opposition submitted to the state back in November of 2013, which I neglected to attach to my narrative. That was by Bernie Lynch. I have an email from the Woodland Park Condominium Association, which is located on Swan Street, which my clients, they met with these people and they were excited to hear about the prospect of this project. I've given you a new revised floor plan for inside the building. I've given you a letter regarding the parking because there was a question on DPD on parking and we've calculated it. And as you can see, there is plenty of parking on that site. I've given you security plans. There are 2 sheets. One is on the outside and one is on the inside. I've also given you a written security plan that's been submitted to the City of Lowell, and I've submitted a letter from Deputy Chief Arthur Ryan stating he's reviewed it and he has no problems with it. So I wanted to give that out first. With me tonight is Bob Mayerson, who's the president of Patriot Care Corp., Dennis Kunian, who is the vice president in charge of communication and governmental relations, and Georgia Ganis over there on the bench, who's the head of security. At this time, my client holds a provisional license from the Commonwealth of Mass for a registered medical marijuana dispensary in the city of Lowell. It's provisional until such time, if it's approved by this board and they go in and they put the improvements in, until such time as would be inspected again to make sure it meets all of the requirements of the dispensary. So that's why they say it's provisional. And as I said, on November 2013, City Manager Bernie Lynch corresponded with the Department of Public Health stating that the City of Lowell did not oppose the application of Patriot Care Corp. for the operation in the City of Lowell. My client, with the assistance of Franz Sagendorf, has looked at numerous parcels within the City of Lowell, and they are now desirous of locating the dispensary in the front portion of the premises at 70 Industrial Avenue East. It's presently vacant, and it consists of approximately 6,000 square feet. So we're before you tonight for a special permit for the operation of other healthcare facilities under Section 12.3K of the zoning ordinance. Property is located in HRC, which is a high-rise commercial zoning district, and an other health care facility is a permitted use with a special permit from this board. It's located directly off the Lowell connector, and is an area consisting mostly of other commercial and industrial uses. It's abutted by the Courtyard by Marriott on the north and in the west, and the remainder of the building is operated by Segu Manufacturing in the rear. Also located directly across from the Transgas Company facility and another business that's presently, I think at least, it's dumpsters. Since this is a new business in the city of Lowell, prior to tonight's meeting, my client has met with representatives of the city, met with the Highlands Residents Association, Sacred Heart Residents Association, the Riverside Community Council, and the Board of Directors at the Woodlawn Condominium Association. It was recommended that they meet with these associations by the city of Lowell, and they've done it. And I did give you a copy of the letter from the Condominium Association. I think my narrative satisfies the requirements for special permit. I think I've listed all of the requirements and stated why. But I want to go over a couple of them with you tonight, and then I'm going to turn it over to other representatives to explain the business. One is social, economic, and community needs. And it is our feeling that in a city with over 100,000 residents, there are many that suffer from severe medical conditions. Studies have shown that medical marijuana can help these people. There are many people suffering from a lot of diseases that I think probably touched a lot of your families. I know they've touched my families. It can help with with chemotherapy, vomiting from the chemotherapy. It can help with MS. Can help with AIDS. I know, my family's gone through the cancer, and at the present time I have two sons that suffer from severe illnesses that could very well benefit from this medical marijuana. As to traffic, we don't anticipate any traffic problems. It's located at Industrial Avenue East, which is primarily used to service other commercial and industrial uses. There's tractor trailers going up and down the street, many big companies up there. The hours of operation would be 11 to 7, 7 days a week, and it avoids the morning rush. In addition, we don't feel there'd be any more traffic caused by this operation than if someone else leased the front of the business and used the same space. So we don't think there's going to be any traffic problems. We anticipate, and it's just, we have no figures to back it up, but probably 80 to 90 patients a day based on other operations that they have. Neighborhood character, there will be no significant changes to the building. Going to leave it currently as it is. I did state in my narrative that we're going to install some security devices in the front of the building, which is necessary, and they've been reviewed by the city, and it's quite important for the operation of the business. At the present time, we feel that the lighting is sufficient to handle this operation, but they have very, very sophisticated cameras, and they feel that the lighting is sufficient. But if it's not, we might, in the future, have to add some additional lighting to make sure that we get pictures of everything that goes on. But right now, we feel it's pretty good. Fiscal impact, we anticipate that we'll have 8 to 12 employees for the dispensary, and there will be other employees located in the building from my clients' related companies in Washington, D.C., and in the state of Arizona. There'll be 10 to 15 more employees with high-paying jobs that will be running the other companies from there. We have already presented the city with a host community agreement and are presently awaiting approval from City Manager Kevin Murphy. The agreement provides for additional payments to the city and various nonprofits located within the city. They've already dealt with some and have made a contribution to the Merrimack Valley health food bank. They intend to, and they also intend to use local vendors for all the services within the building. They want to be a good resident of the city of Lowell and get involved with all the nonprofits in the city also. As far as staff comments are concerned, signage, all signage that will be put up on the property will conform with the city of Lowell zoning ordinance. There will be nothing on the sign that says it's a medical marijuana dispensary. It'll just say Patriots Care Corp. As far as the dumpster is concerned, there is no dumpster shown on the plan because at the present time, we intend to use a compactor that's presently in the building that's run by our landlord. If in the future it's necessary to change, we will locate a dumpster where that pad is in the back of the building. And of course, we will conform with all City of Lowell Board of Health requirements to have it fenced. Parking, I think I've given you a letter that satisfies any concerns about parking. As far as landscaping concerned, I think if you've driven by, you'll see that there's plenty of landscaping on the site. We don't own it, but there's landscaping there. When I referred in the narrative to a planter, we meant that's for security purposes. That would be cameras in there for security purposes. So we didn't intend to do any additional plantings. Bus stop. There is one shelter located on Industrial Avenue East, way at the end, and I think that was put there for the purpose of servicing the Veterans Administration building on the other side. There is a bus route on the street. At the present time, we don't know how many patients would come by bus or by car, but we will make a commitment that in the event that, a considerable amount come by bus, we will build a bus shelter at the site in the future. But at this point in time, we don't know how they'll be arriving. Now that's basically where I think we meet the requirements. I'm going to turn it over to Bob to explain the operation, and then George can explain the security. And then we're here to answer any questions that this board might have. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Bob Marison. I'm the CEO of Patriot Care Corp. As Mr. Flood alluded, Patriot Care is affiliated with a company that has operations in other locations in the country. Our focus is only on the most highly regulated medical markets in the country. We're not in Colorado. We're not in Washington State. We're in Arizona. We have 2 dispensaries, one in Tempe, one in Prescott, Arizona. We have 2 cultivation facilities there. And we're also in Washington, D.C., pretty much a block or 2 from the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms. And we also have a cultivation facility in Washington. We were the only licensee granted dispensary and cultivation license in the city. So what we bring to the program here in Massachusetts and to the operation here in Lowell is a substantial amount of experience. Our entire management team works in this, has worked, we don't hire consultants to run it for us. We are all working in this business every day. I spend every waking hour pretty much working on this, on our businesses. I'm just going to take you through a few kind of what we stand for, and then I'll tell you a little bit about how the operation actually works, because when we've been in front of the various community groups, I think one of the things that they've really been appreciative of in those conversations is having a better understanding of exactly what it is that happens, when somebody comes to the facility, because you don't read a lot about that. There's not a lot written about it, and it would be maybe helpful for your consideration. And so I'll just try to make this fast. I know you probably have a lot of questions, and I would love to answer every single one of them. So Patriot Care and our larger organization stand for really four key tenets. First is patient care. For us, patient care is about convenience, accessibility, and safety when they're coming to the site. And one of the reasons why, when Fran and I were looking all over the city, and she found this location for me, and I went and looked at it, I knew instantly it was the right spot because, frankly, it meets all those criteria. It's convenient, if people can find parking right in the lot, they don't have to pay for parking, they're not downtown. We didn't want to really necessarily be in everyone's face, downtown. And so it's very convenient, it's accessible for people, not just for Lowell, and because frankly, when the DPH cites these locations, they're really trying to service really everybody who lives in the county, and Middlesex County is the largest county in the state, 1.5 million people. So it was a way to be accessible to them as well without necessarily needing to draw them into the downtown area and so on. While there may be benefits to that too, it was, for their purposes, we felt that it was much more convenient. It's convenient. There's a bus route, as we mentioned, and we were talking about a minute ago, so people don't have to have a car to come to us. They can take a bus in that regard. And then from the safety and security, we like the ability to be able to safeguard the area around us. It's a very easy spot to do that. George will be in charge of that for us. And as Mr. Flood was saying, when it comes to lighting, if we need more lighting to make people feel safer, if the lot isn't light enough, we'll make sure that it is, because we really want people to feel that way. The second part of patient care is really about the care itself and having knowledgeable, compassionate people that work for us to provide that care. And because part of one of the things we stand for as a company is stand behind our desire to do research on the effectiveness of medical marijuana on these various underlying qualifying conditions. There's really been no very little work done on it in the United States because it has been illegal for so long. And one of the things that we are committed to and that we stand for in really all of our markets is to engage in that. Because we want to shed some light on all the anecdotal stories we hear from our patients that say that this has really improved their lives. It doesn't work for everybody. I wouldn't stand here and say that it's like any medicine. There's some people that works for it, some it doesn't. But I would say that the anecdotal stories we hear from people are very impressive, and we would like to put some quantification behind that. The third area is compliance, and George is going to make sure that we are fully in compliance. But compliance is a lot of things. It's what we do every day to make sure that nothing is going out the back door. So we, every day we do a physical inventory. Twice a day, in the morning and the afternoon, we count everything that's in our possession, down to the gram, because we're required to, and not just because we're required to, but you really have to, because you're tracking every gram. So on a compliance, our compliance really, because we're in multiple markets, it's so important to us to be in compliance everywhere. It's something we take very seriously, because if we mess up in one location, we might as well mess up in all of them, because everyone will know about it. But compliance is also about maintaining a positive relationship with law enforcement. George has had numerous meetings with Deputy Chief Ryan, and our goal is not just to do that up front before we move in, but really to maintain that relationship. And we've offered in all of the communities that which we operate to share our camera feed with the police if they would like to have it. We don't expect them to monitor the facility for us. We'll do that, but if they want to see what's going on, we have nothing to hide, so we want them to feel good about it. And then the fourth, and probably the one we spend the most time on really, and take very seriously, is the community part of that, which is reaching out to the community groups. Met with Nancy Judge and the Highlands group twice. I went there. We met with Carol McCarthy and the Sacred Heart that group had a great meeting there. And the Condo Association. Those are all part of what we try to do. We want to engage the community, because part of it's a new thing. People have misconceptions, or they watch TV, they see Colorado, and they think that's what's coming to Lowell, and that's really not what it is. This is not recreational. We're about the medical part of this business. And so why don't I turn into, I'm sorry, before I do, I'll talk about the community part. The last piece of that is about our commitment to the community. As Mr. Flood indicated, we've provided City Manager Lynch with a draft host community agreement. We've signed one already in South Hadley. We've actually applied in Greenfield. We were one of a small group of applicants who could apply a couple weeks ago for some additional counties. We have a signed agreement in Greenfield. So, it's very important to us to make sure we put down on paper and codify what we promise, which is to give back to the community, not just to the city, but also to community groups, organizations, charitable organizations within the community. And we've already started doing that even before we knew that we had the provisional license. We started to do that. So just to take a little bit of the mystery out of kind of how it works and some of the, what happens is, so if somebody can't just show up at our door and have a piece of paper and say, my doctor gave me this and, I'm coming in, can I come in and buy some marijuana? They have to see their doctor. Their doctor has to, there's some enrolling they have to do with the DPH, the Department of Public Health. And so the doctor, they have to have one of the qualifying conditions. There's certain qualifying conditions like cancer, HIV, AIDS, MS, Parkinson's, glaucoma, hepatitis C. There's other conditions that qualify, which, by the way, based on the population in Lowell alone, there's probably about 4,000 or 5,000 people in Lowell that have the qualifying conditions. And in Middlesex County in its entirety, there's probably about 60,000 patients that have the qualifying conditions. That doesn't mean they're all going to come, but it means that there are quite a number of people that would meet the criteria. But presuming that they meet the criteria with their doctor and he agrees, or he or she agrees that it's the right thing for them, they will log on to a state system. They'll do some initial registration of that patient. This is, by the way, what we've been told by the DPH. I haven't seen their system, but it's pretty much the way it should work. The patient will go home, log in a control number of some sort. They'll scan their license, or they'll provide a picture ID, and they'll receive a card. They'll receive a card from the Department of Public Health that is a marijuana registration card. It'll have their picture on it. It'll have a control number on it. I don't know if it'll have a swipe, but I think it'll have a number on it. They haven't really been specific about that. So when somebody comes to our facility, they have to have that card, and they also have to have the ID that they used when they signed up online. They have to have both of those forms of ID, so that when they come to the door, they're going to show us, before they get into the vestibule, they're going to show us their ID, and we will let them into the vestibule, which still has a locked door. They can't get into the reception area until our receptionist takes the ID and looks at the card and enters the number on the state database to make sure that it's a valid card, that they have not used up their allotment for marijuana for the month, and that the second form of ID they have is the second form of ID that they used when they got their card. They have to have both of those, otherwise we have to send them away. They can't come in with a friend. They can't come in unless their friend has a card. They can't come in with their mother, their brother. I mean, they could. Now, we do you might make an exception if it's sometimes an older person might come in, or somebody who just has had no experience with this, or maybe they're in a wheelchair and need some help coming in. So they should have a caregiver with them, but that would be the exception, not the rule, certainly. It's very controlled because we just don't want to have people in there distracting our staff and doing anything. So once they meet the criteria to get into the facility, we will let them into the reception area. The sales area is segregated away from the reception area, so when you come in, and you don't see from the street you don't see the sales area, you don't see people inside buying marijuana, you don't see any of that. You see people waiting. It looks a lot like a doctor office, and so they're only allowed in the sales area to the extent that we have an available salesperson. So if we have 3 people in the sales area that day, if 4 people come into the facility, 1 person waits in the reception area while the other 3 are, buy their product. And then when 1 person comes out and there's an available salesperson, then we let the next person in. It's kind of a flow like that. It's the way it works in our dispensaries in the other locations where we have this. Mr. Flood mentioned 80 to 90 patients a day, maybe 100. That's about what we would expect. They sort of happen over the course of the day. We have, I would expect our hours to be sort of 11 to 7 days a week. We're not intending to be open at night. We're not there to be there for a nighttime thing. We're there to service people during times when they can, when it's convenient for them to buy, at lunch or after work on their way home if they have these conditions. So. That's basically the way the process works in the facility. We'll have an ATM in the facility because it is a cash business currently, and hopefully by the time we open, maybe the banking rules will change a little bit more, but it's a cash business, so we'll have an ATM so people don't have to carry cash to the facility. When it comes to deliveries of product, it's not like the Nissan bread truck showing up every day. It's 2 or 3 times a week we'll have an unmarked car from our cultivation center will come, not at the same time, not on the same day. So it'll be unscheduled on, kind of random times to bring product to the facility. And we have a back door, so we don't have to come in through the front. It's a very secure location for us that way. Kind of rambling a little bit. I wanted to make sure you had enough of the basics of it to ask questions that you might have. And I don't know if there's anything more we have to say on security. I tried to cover most of it, George, unless you think I missed something.
I'll answer any questions, but George Aganis, and thank you for seeing us. I think the best way to describe the dispensary is if you think about a bank, and then you really kind of multiply the security resources, and then you don't invite the public in. But you still have all of the same security measures that are in there, the vault, the cameras, we have significant cameras, motion detectors, this, that, the other thing, analytical cameras that will determine what's going on, whether it's a bird, whether it's a person, whether it's a branch, whatever it is. We have motion detectors between the ceiling and the roof. There's things like that. There's a far greater outlook to the security side of it than probably most places, but we kind of feel that do it once, do it right, and be done with it. And hopefully, I think if you look in that plan, we've done that. So, any questions, that I can answer maybe that we didn't hit on the security side?
If anybody has a question for the gentleman, you can certainly ask it if you want.
Mr. Chairman, if I just may, Mr. Flood handed us quite a little bit of information. I just want to make sure I go through this thoroughly before I have a better understanding of what the petitioner is asking for throughout this meeting. If you could have maybe a 5 or 10 minute recess, just so I can view this, I would really appreciate it, if it's okay with you and my colleagues.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Anybody else got a question of this gentleman?
Sorry, go ahead, Dennis.
I just have one quick question. You mentioned security, and I noticed on the plan in the area that the marijuana is being brought into the building, there's skylights?
I'm sorry.
There's skylights on that space?
Satellites?
Skylights.
Skylights, those are being removed. Those are just in the architectural drawing, they're being removed. They exist there now.
Thank you.
Yeah, good call, though. Oh, you're an architect, okay, that was just in the drawing, yeah.
Sounds like a break-in specialist.
That's the first thing I did when I walked in the back door. I looked up, I said, that's not happening.
Mike, you have a question?
My quick question, just in regard to security, and I probably read it over the weekend somewhere in the package, but it's, someone is on site 24 hours a day, or no? Okay.
No. We're monitored, but there won't be an individual on site 24 hours.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Okay, if nobody else has any questions, we'll do the 5-minute recess, just so board member Van can take another look. So we'll get back together in 5 minutes, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. set there, Ben? Okay. All right, Mr. Flood, I guess we'll continue. I
I think that's our,
Yeah.
that's our presentation.
Okay. Yeah, I think you hit on some of the, we received the comments from the city also, and I believe, I think the only thing you didn't talk about, and to me, I understand, the planters were brought up about the, I don't know if you mentioned that, but I don't,
The planters are meant to be in front of the windows so that, vehicles
sure.
don't.
Yep, okay. Yep, okay. Well, I guess I'll say as usual, I'm sure either I or other board members will have some other questions, but we'll open it up to the public at this point. Anyone here like to speak in favor of this petition? In favor? In favor? Hearing none, that portion of the public hearing is closed. Anyone like to speak in opposition? Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Christopher LaValle. I live at 10 Edgewood Street in Chelmsford.
Okay.
I just wanted to start off by saying I'm not in opposition of medical marijuana or dispensaries. I actually work in the pharmaceutical industry, so I know that it is meeting a true medical need. When I received this notice of public hearing, I did some research online because I wasn't fully educated on the process or the petitions. So based on my research that I did on the state site, I applaud the local and state governments for the process, the controls that are being put in place for the licensing and the zoning into industrial and commercial areas. My concern is not with the overall process or the overall item. My concern is with this specific dispensary and with this specific location. And again, they're primarily concerns, not necessarily issues. One of the things I noticed in my research is that this company was previously rejected from 2 other towns and cities. And although I wasn't able to view the details on the website documents, I did notice that it was primarily over security concerns. So I couldn't tell what the details were or if they've been addressed since, but that is one of my concerns. In addition to that, the location of this dispensary is particularly concerning to me, because while it is in an industrial section of Lowell, and it does have the Marriott to the north and west, and it does have the dumpster company and Transgas to the east, there is a residential area that includes both Lowell and Chelmsford, just on the other side of the dumpster company and Transgas. And I live in that area. While they did meet with the condo association further down Swan Street, I was not aware of any other neighborhood meetings or things that they could address with our neighborhood. In addition to that, there is a bus route that takes the children from some of the Chelmsford schools that go directly into that industrial drive and into Swan Street and into that neighborhood. So that's another concern I have with the location. Finally, while the heart of the connector 495 and Route 3 is an attractive place to have a business because of the access, there is also a downside, and the Stop and Shop, or the bank in the Stop and Shop just up the street on Chelmsford Street is keenly aware that over the course of, I don't know how many years they've been there, they have had robberies quite frequently. And the thought is that that's primarily because of the location and the easy access to escape routes. So again, I don't completely oppose this, but I do have some serious concerns over the petitioner itself and the site that was chosen.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much. Anyone else like to speak in opposition? 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 Hearing none. that portion of public hearing is closed. Can I open it up to the board? Mike?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Were you about to say something, Attorney Flood, or
No,
just?
no,
oh,
I could do it later.
Okay. Going just solely on the comments from Development Services, I think I'm not going to re-ask any questions or confirm what you've presented to sort of address the comments. And I do appreciate the petitioner working with the Woodland Condo Association, because that was one of my concerns, because that is the closest residential area, other than that, the side street that goes into Chelmsford. So the couple of the questions I had that were things that were just brought up now, I'd like someone to just try to re-explain the whole idea of the caregiver visiting with a patient and whether or not they would be allowed access. And I know it's not really related to the application necessarily, but just to try to re-explain the idea that someone would be denied assistance, or how you make that decision.
The law says that you can have a caregiver. The caregiver has to be registered with the state as well, so they can come in with you if they're your caregiver. So that's what I was trying to say before.
Okay, great. I don't think you mentioned that the caregiver would be registered.
I forgot to
So
say
that
that.
answers my question about that, so.
Can I just address one? I would like to just address one thing, if that's okay. That was just I don't know that it was totally accurate. And first of all, I would welcome the opportunity to meet with, if you have a neighborhood association, we welcome that opportunity, whether it's in the town, out of the town. So I would like to take you up on that if there's something we can do. But we were not denied 2 applications elsewhere for security concerns. As part of the state process, we made 3 applications. We applied for Lowell, we applied in Northampton, and we applied in Worcester. The state allowed us to apply for up to three licenses. One of the reasons why our cultivation center is in South Hadley was because it wasn't really close to, it was close to Northampton, but that was why we kind of ended up there. But the state awarded the licenses for Northampton and Worcester to another group initially. So we were never awarded those to be denied them. They had a higher score than we did, and that's why they got them. And we had the highest score of the applicants for Lowell, and that's why we got Lowell. So there was nothing taken away from us. In fact, the state, because we had 2 other applications, allowed us. We were on a handful of groups that were just allowed to most recently submit applications for the open counties that didn't get a dispensary. So the state is obviously very. The DPH is satisfied with who we are, and we made it through their verification process. So, just wanted to clarify that. So I'm sorry to do the.
Nope. Anything else, Mike?
A couple of the things. Again, I'll try to be brief. I mentioned Woodland Condo Park, and the other question or concern I was awaiting would have been from the abutter, the manufacturing business, and obviously no one is here. And they are going to be attached to this facility, and they haven't said anything for or against the application.
They're our landlord. The owner.
They also own the building.
Mr. Pagson is, I think his name is Pagson. I forget his first name, but Segway Manufacturing is his company.
Okay.
So.
Okay. And again, the last thing I wanted to ask a couple of questions, or at least comment on, is just the security plan, or not the plan necessarily, but overview of the security. And thankfully, because Commissioner Peck did ask for that recess, I was able to read very quickly Mr. Aganis's bio. And I certainly am perfectly confident in him or anyone else that he decides to hire, based on what I just had a chance to read a couple of minutes ago. And that with the fact, or coupled with the fact that our Deputy Superintendent, Ryan, has been a Lowell police officer for decades and was a candidate for chief of police. So I've, based on his comments in meeting with Mr. Aganis, I don't have any specific security issues. I think based on what was said, you'll be working hand in hand with him and the police department all along, so.
Thank you.
Okay. And the last comment I wanted to make, and this will probably come up later with motions, although it's a minor thing, the bus shelter, I actually don't think we should be asking a nonprofit organization to be, although I think it's a good idea, to have more bus shelters around where my understanding is all of the medical marijuana companies need to be registered as nonprofits. So, I mean, if there was a large, for-profit business going in here, I might ask them to install a new bus shelter. And again, this is a minor thing, but I'd want to leave that off the table later on.
We discussed it, and like I said, we don't know how many people will come in cars, we don't know how many people might come on a bus. But if it turns out that a large number of our patients do come on a bus, I think as a convenience for those patients, we could do it at a later date, but right now we don't. We have no idea, so.
All right, thank you to the petitioner, and I have no further questions or comments, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mike. Van?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, to the applicant. I do feel that this is serving a great need for the city and even for the county. And, this is definitely a need in the community of Lowell, for sure. I know you talked about this a little bit briefly in your summary. Can you talk a little bit about, so the dispensary is going to serve Lowell and the greater surrounding community. Do you anticipate a certain amount of people going to get a medical dispensary, or is there like a number that you want to attain or reach? Because you said in your statement earlier, Middlesex County, roughly around 60,000 people have those pre-existing conditions that would qualify them for medical marijuana. So even if a quarter of that people went to the site, like 15,000, like how many people can you accommodate through the site, like supply-wise and man hours?
How many we can accommodate?
Yeah.
We have I can just tell you I can answer that best by talking about what we have in Arizona, which is a facility about a quarter of the size of this. And Arizona already has 50,000 patients that have cards in Arizona, and there's 70 dispensaries. In a facility, I'd say actually 1/5 the size of this facility, we're handling easily, 100 patients a day when it's at a peak. And this facility is almost 6,000 feet, of which, 4,000 will be dispensary related. So it'll be 3 times the size of the other facility. I really have no concerns about our ability to manage whatever flow, comes to us. It's not, you have to take out of your mind the pictures of Colorado and the lines and, that type of thing, because it's not going to be like that, even if it was the kind of numbers you're talking about. I think what we've seen generally is that in other states, that ultimately after several years of the program, you might see 1% of the population as that would have cards. They don't all necessarily go to the same place the same day at the same time, and that type of thing. So, we feel very confident that, and one of the reasons why we like this space was that it was big enough to accommodate it. And if we found ourselves needing to have more space in there, we could always, have the offices move to another facility in Lowell and use more of that space for the dispensary, because it's expandable that way.
All right, thank you. I was also curious about, so right now the Patriot Care, the organization, it offers medical marijuana, and that's the only, service you provide. Do you think there'll be a shift or envision anything that'll be used down the road for recreational purposes?
Our whole company stands behind and on top of a platform of being a medical company. We've only focused on medical. I don't know what's going to happen in the future. Recreational, it's not our business model as a company doesn't really depend on that happening. Everything we're doing is built around medical. The research that we want to engage in, the fact that, if we wanted to be in recreational, we could have easily opened dispensaries in Colorado earlier this year. That would have been much easier than, than going other places. And that's, so we've only focused on the states that are the most highly regulated in medical, and that's our whole approach.
Those are the only comments I have, and I want to say thank you to my colleagues for giving me that little recess. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Pam. Dennis?
Through Mr. Chairman, I just want to echo the comments about the facility from my fellow colleagues here. That I think it's a well thought out, well addressed as far as a security issue, especially, and a good location. I think just being easy access for serving the population that you're trying to serve. That includes Lowell, but it's not just Lowell itself. I'd like to drill down a little bit more in the actual facility and how it's used, and the way the parking gets used, because I'm looking at the plan, and I understand you probably have offices here for 15 to 16 people. I'm sorry, offices for probably 12 people, and then you have 3 salespeople as well, and a receptionist. So that gets to a population of staffing for the facility. Do you have a model as far as what you expect to have for staff levels here?
I'm sorry, you're asking how many staff will be in the dispensary at any one time?
Well, you've got an office component here,
There'll be office people, yeah.
and that looks like it's probably 12 people or so?
10 to 12, yeah, something in that range, but not all are there at the same time. So, I mean, like, I'll have my office there. We will have cultivation in South Hadley. We may, if we're successful at winning additional licenses, we've applied for Greenfield and for Boston, so I might, all of us, George included, George is the head of security for Patriot Care. So we're not all necessarily there at the same time. Our architect had done the calculations based on the way the zoning
Sure.
was based on how many square feet of office space that we have. There's actually far more parking than I think what's in the facility than what's shown on. There's more than the 75 spaces, because that only includes. I'm pretty sure that only includes the spaces in the front. There's additional spaces in the back. So, in fact, Chris Brothers over at Segway thought they had over 100 spaces in total. But so I think there's ample parking. We had so we feel pretty confident about that. And they said we have 20 that are dedicated to us, but there's more that will be available if we need them. So there's ample parking, we believe. We meet the zoning criteria anyway, we felt.
So you're saying that you have 20 dedicated to your use?
Well, 20 in the lease, we're guaranteed, the lease stipulates that we have 20 dedicated to us. They're not going to have a sign, we're not going to put signs up in front of each one, that wouldn't look so good, but.
That's fine. And so when your clients are coming, you have, I think you mentioned 3 salespeople. Is it typically like a 15-minute turnover for the salespeople, or 4 per hour, is that kind of thing?
It depends on how knowledgeable the patient is. If there's someone who's a first-time patient, it might take a little longer. If someone who already knows what strain works for them, they might come in and take 5 minutes. That kind of varies based on the patient. Ideally, we would have, depending on initially we probably won't have 3 salespeople on, because it's gonna be a slow ramp up. But ideally, we'd have 3 salespeople. There'd be a receptionist. There would be someone who would be manning the area, which is the point of sale terminal. There'd be a store manager. So there'd probably 6 people. Let's say 6 maybe, and then there's the security guards who will be stationed outside. So maybe there's 6 to 8 people on. That would be a peak, I think, not much more than that.
Okay. So I'm thinking in my head that there's probably 8 clients or 6 to 8 clients, depending on what stage they're at, whether they're coming, whether they're in the waiting area, whether they're in the sales area, whether they're checking out. So that's 6 to 8 cars represented there, and then 10 staff maybe, because some of them are traveling, so maybe it's not everybody there. So that's 18, and then some security, so that's pretty close to 20. So you kind of maxed out on the parking for the 20, I think, and just doing the math for
that's right.
as this goes ahead.
But I think they have the use, there's 20 exclusive, but they have the use of the other spaces in the lot.
Okay.
And based on the site plan, there's 72 spaces in the front, and that doesn't include what's on the side or on the back. So I think there's over 120 spaces staff would park.
Yeah, the staff are not allowed to, would not be, I mean, I was president of Eastern Mountain Sports for 7 years, and you had to walk a long way to get to the store from where we let our staff park, because that's just the way, that's what you're supposed to do. Our staff would most likely park in the back. I mean, again, we've had this conversation too with Mr. Brothers, and I missed, the name of the company that owns the building is Pax, and Mr. Roderick, I think is his name, is the president of Segway. We've had this conversation that the 20 are dedicated in the lease, but if you drive by the site on any day, you'll see that there's well over 20 spaces available, even when Segway is in full operation during the day.
Okay, all right. And could you just kind of give me an understanding of the security in the parking area and how that is going to work?
Well, the parking area will be monitored with cameras, okay? And we're going to have a security guard that'll be working, that'll be at the door area, paying attention to what's going on outside as well. We have, all of the surveillance will be monitored inside as well. If I'm there or somebody else, another security person is there, all the cameras will be displayed on the, on our main, head, what's called a head end, in there, and we'll be able to see what's going on in all parts of the building.
Putting the bollards too. Putting the bollards outside too. Where are you putting the bollards?
Oh, the planters, bollards, so there's a few of the windows that are on the, well, where you see proposed facility,
Yep.
right behind the word proposed, you'll see that's a window area. So we were gonna put planters down in the corner, the first 2 spaces at least, if not all of them. And then in the front section, there's another area where there's some windows. Even though there is a low wall there, we were gonna put the planter bollards there. I mean, they look nice and they serve a purpose too,
Sounds good. It seems like a very well thought out plan. Thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. Gary?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I have a few comments and a couple of questions here. The wait time was answered, so it's through medical prescription, so the turnover of refills is going to be patient-specific, so it's going to be really hard for you to give us a numeric number of how many people visit this site on a daily basis. I think your numbers are a little high, quite honestly, at this point. As far as the parking and the relief and the drop-off, I don't see that as being an issue. I just want to talk a little bit about inventory. As it relates to inventory, and I don't want to get into the background of your security because it's obviously, is there a turnover of inventory? Is there a drop-down date on medical marijuana? Is there a surplus disposal process? Is there any of that takes place in this industry?
Well, I can tell you that, our experience in some of the others in Arizona and DC, which will help answer the question, I hope. So Arizona has a very similar limit as to how much a patient can buy in a period of time. And what we see is that the average purchase is about anywhere from $65 to $75, maybe $80 a purchase. So they're buying less than a quarter ounce at a time. The average patient is coming a few times a month. So they're coming maybe once a week. It's, they're not going to spend everything all at once. They want to, spread it out over the month, I guess, for whatever reason. So even though the technical limit is significantly higher, most people don't buy that much. They buy what they need for the next week. So we try to match our production against that. In Arizona, it's been a little tougher because our cultivation centers only recently came online. So in Arizona, it's a very different market. You can buy from other dispensaries and other cultivators. So that's what we've been doing. It's harder to manage that freshness quotient that you're talking about. Ideally, what we would be doing is growing what we need to maintain a certain freshness, and when product gets to be past, it's not like a prescription drug or Advil or something like that where it says, well, after 2015 January you have to throw this away. We would not sell it after. We don't have a hard and fast rule. I think after a certain point we would turn the that older product into an extract, because you can use the extract to make edible product and other things. So we would bring it back to the cultivation center, and we might transform it into another use. We're not gonna, it doesn't get disposed of. We don't, there'll be no marijuana disposals at the facility going out into the compactor or the trash bin. We don't want people dumpster diving or compactor diving, that kind of thing. So it would go back to the cultivation center, and we would repurpose. You can take it and you can extract from it at that point in time.
So on that line, as it relates to the byproduct, how do you, in the cultivation piece, how do you deduce your byproducts, your soils, and it's a plant, so if you're extracting and you're using the majority of it, well, how do you dispose of what is not going to be used in the whole process?
Well, we're not going to do cultivating here in Lowell. It'll be done in South Hadley. But to answer your question, it would get chipped up, and then it would get rendered inert in some kind of a soil. So there'd be no way to try to utilize it, and then it would be disposed of. It would compost, basically.
Okay. Thank you. That helped me out a lot. I really appreciate that. Just talked about delivery a little bit. You're obviously going to be sporadic in deliveries, untimed, undated. It's internal security measures I'm sure you have in place.
So the deliveries will be sporadic. Oh, I'm sorry. The deliveries will be sporadic. They will be a nondescript vehicle, and the vehicle may change from time to time. The procedure really is to have security personnel in the vehicle, as well as a dispensary agent or someone that works in the cultivation center, either way. According to mass regulations, the vehicle has to be tracked by a GPS tracking device. So there's manifests that are written, there's inventory that's taken, there's sign-off sheets and whatnot. It's placed in a vehicle, in a compartment, a locked compartment, in a safe, in a sense, locked in the vehicle, away from the driver and the passenger. The vehicle's locked, and it's tracked from the departure point, which would be South Hadley in our case, to, let's say, Lowell. Lowell can pay attention to where the vehicle is by the GPS, and South Hadley can pay attention to where the vehicle is by the GPS on their computers, and that's the way it will be done. Inventories are done on both sides of it. The delivery personnel do not have keys to the box necessarily, or combinations. That will be done inside the facility, and vice versa in South Hadley. So it's a really controlled type of a situation where what's going on in between from point A to point B, the transport, as far as the product goes, is insignificant other than it getting there. But the tracking of the product is done on either end, and it's done twice. So it's tracked in transit, it's inventoried, before it goes, put on a manifest, they know what's going on. It gets locked in the box is locked in the vehicle, it gets shipped, it gets to the site. Again, the inventory is done, the manifest is cleared, everything's checked in. So that's kind of the way it's done.
Thank you. Very, very well explained.
All right, thank you.
Very well explained. I appreciate that. Just to touch on neighborhood groups, Attorney Flood, did you just for a matter of record, just get any letters of or any
No,
minutes?
just the association. But they did meet. They had no problems. They met with Carol McCarthy of the Sacred Heart Association and the Riverside community. It was a joint meeting. And then they met with Nancy Judge twice in the Highlands. So, I mean, if they had a problem, I think they would have
If
let your people
either
know.
one of those representatives had issue, they would certainly be here. They represent their section of the city very, very well.
Yeah, and they said that when people heard how this operated,
Yeah.
they felt comfortable. So,
What else do I have? So 11 a.m. to 7 p.m., 7 days per week for dispensary.
11 to 7. Yes, sir.
Okay. I do want to say, the security package that was submitted tonight is very well outlined.
Thank you.
It's in detail. Your credentials are impeccable.
Thank you.
I have heard of your expertise.
Thanks very much. Appreciate
in
it.
law enforcement. Just the way you outline this, from my standpoint, identifying every section of concern, cross-referencing with general laws and follow-up. I can certainly see why Lowell Police Department has the confidence as well.
I appreciate that.
As it relates to these reference letters from the other towns that you're involved in, you know, as Attorney Flood knows, we're big fans of getting information prior. So my only concern would be that there would be some follow-up through DPD. Perhaps we can make a condition just to follow up from our agency to your reference agency, just for a communication for the record, that's all. It's a great package, well detailed and informative, and you, I think you answered all the questions I had, not only in my notes here, but as you forwarded your presentation, it was outlined nicely. I appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Gary. Sean?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do want to thank the petitioners for providing the security plan. That was my really main concern going into today, I wonder what was going to be done about security, and it's very well detailed, especially like the map breaking down the site map, which shows where the cameras and monitors and stuff, all that is going to be. I think one of my big concerns, though, is off-hours security, and can you just touch on that a little bit, please? I think you said there's going to be on site, or I just...
I'm sorry, say again?
Off-hours security,
Sure.
as far as like
So,
late night?
during the 11 to 7 hours, and of course, my hours are not going to be 11 to 7, so I'm going to be there earlier, and I'm going to stay till it's, long after closing. But, and I'm never going to lie to you, so there's times that I may be elsewhere too, but somebody will be there in my stead, whether it be a security guard or another security professional or whatever. So, but in terms of the off hours, the system that we're putting in place there is an analytical system that will be monitored. And the analytical system is such that it would tell the difference between a bird on the roof or a branch on the roof or a person on the roof. And that can be, identified so quickly. And the other thing that you have to understand with the dispensary is, at the end of the day, everything goes into the vault, and then inside the vault is a safe. And that is controlled with a volumetric alarm. So if you add a can of soda, after the fact that's shut down, it's going to know that the volume in that area has changed. Its vibration, the security is such that its vibration, it would recognize a vibration, a bang, or anything like that. So, and the safe is such that it would take them so long to even get into the safe that the Lowell PD could, not only would they be there in that time, they could set up, a convention outside. It'd take them that long to get into it. So, and again, the other thing you have to understand, there's not going to be this enormously huge quantities, because we have our cultivation site. It's not going to be enormously huge quantities of product that will be on site, where we have the ability to bring additional in, and you spoke about the freshness, that was a good point. So we have the ability to bring product in, in a matter of a couple hours. You don't need to fill the place and leave it there, when you're not using it. So we'll stock with what we think is necessary.
If I could just add, and I don't want to jinx ourselves, or I'm kind of superstitious, so I probably shouldn't say it, but in Washington, D.C. and in Arizona, we've not had any attempted break-ins. We've been open for a year and a half, and we're in a pretty tough neighborhood in Washington, D.C., both cultivation and our dispensary. And, I think we rely on those security systems, as George says, to be that really line of defense and the response from the police department.
Thank you for that. I mean, one of my concerns, and you did mention, Mr. Mayorson, that it is a cash-only business too. So that was one of the things, not only the product itself, but being cash-only with a vault there as well.
Well, we
piqued
wouldn't.
my interest a little bit. There was as far as off-hours security and.
Right.
We wouldn't plan to leave a lot of cash in the facility. We do have a bank. We have banking here in Massachusetts. We have a bank that will take our deposits, and so we'll plan to bring our cash to them. I wouldn't expect to have too much in the safe at any one time. I think we'll probably have better security than most banks and have a lot less cash and product really in the vault room.
Understandable, yes. That was pretty much my only main concerns, but thank you very much, and I do want to note that, I want to thank Mr. Lally for appearing too. I mean, the area that he lives in, I have family live over there too, and when I saw that you met with Woodland, the Woodland Park people in the package, and like, well, what about the people on the back end? And I appreciate you reaching out to him too to see what their thoughts were on this as well. So, but thank you very much.
Thank you, Sean. So, so dovetailing off of that, so this gentleman came, where is he? Yep. Gentleman came with, I captured like 3 items. He had security, location, and the bus route. I know you definitely addressed the security part. I know he mentioned something about potential robberies. I think you've already addressed that. The location, I believe, we know what the location is. I know where the neighborhood is. I know you only visited the condo association, but this gentleman lives in the neighborhood area. I know you suggested, reaching out to the neighborhood, but I believe, if that's something, we want to condition, we could do that, but I don't know if that's really necessary, but I believe he's talked about the impact to the neighborhood potential if there was any. Now, the bus route, he mentioned about bus route with children. I think you've already talked about I'll say, the typical client, the reason why the client's coming there. Is there anything more you want to say about that? Because I'd rather you answer that question. He threw the...
Sure. No, I would say that, well, 2 things. One is when one drives by the facility, our signage will conform with the regulations. It'll say Patriot Care, and our logo, which I gave you my card, you can see what the logo looks like. It's a very nondescript logo. So you won't really, no medical marijuana, there won't be any posters in the window. No one would really necessarily know. There's no smells coming from the facility, or not, even where we cultivate it, we have carbon filters on every room, and we don't have smells coming out of that building. So you really shouldn't necessarily know it, other than just maybe knowing that it's there, and it's sort of, I understand that. The average patient, Arizona and Massachusetts programs are very similar, actually. 75% of our patients in Arizona are over the age of 30. So this is not a college, this is not just college kids who happen to be able to get a card and come in. This is, 75% are over the age of 30, and I think it was a third of our patients are over 50, and we have thousands of patients. So it's an older, these are people who have illnesses. These are people who have the various qualifying conditions that it's meant to service. It's really, that's the bulk of the kind of people we see. That's our patient population.
Okay, great, thank you. So just a couple of questions from me. What's the plan, and I have to ask this, if there's the site, you have a major fire at the site, what happens with the operation? Do you end up what do you do for a temporary operation?
That's a great question. I think that we file an insurance claim right away and hope to rebuild. I mean, I forget what our rights are under the lease in terms of rebuilding. Typically in a lease, the landlord has a certain amount of time to reconstruct and so on, but is that what you're talking?
Well, if you have clients that are coming there now, they can't access that facility, are they directed to go to another facility?
Well, I guess that we might be able to offer, to the extent that it's up and running, it's possible that we could offer delivery if we have a facility in Greenfield or in Boston, but if we have nothing, then we have to shut down until we can rebuild. I mean, it's really as simple as that.
Yep. Well, I asked the same question on another clinic, and they had an answer for me, but I was just curious I know you probably had no experience with it. I just want to understand what happens if
what did the other group
that
say?
Unforsaken event happened. I was just curious if you had a mitigation plan, that's all.
Well, they couldn't, because they need a special permit to operate in another location, so.
I wouldn't,
It's either here or no place.
all right.
Yep, that's okay. Had to ask a question. So as far as the facility you're moving into, the manufacturing company is there, and then yourself. So am I to understand there'll be no other tenants that will go into that building at all?
I don't control that. It's up to,
Okay. So if another tenant came in there, what does that mean to your business?
well, they would know that we're there, so they would, they
Okay.
would come in with the knowledge that we're already there. So it would be,
Okay.
I would assume that they would know what they were getting into. But again, it's not a offensive use in the sense of there's no smells, we're not cultivating there, so it should be very innocuous for them.
Okay. And Judy, I don't think we received any comments from, like, the health department, any concerns or observations from them?
Not from the health department, no.
Or any other city departments, I don't think chimed in, correct? Except police, I know the police department are involved.
We met with the health department.
Yeah, I don't think we received any comments from them, concerns, observations, whatever. The security, are they all employees of Patriot?
No, we're contracting with a couple of different firms, but, or looking at a couple of different firms. Allied Barton's one of them, Snyder Security is another. But what we're seeking is to try to utilize retired law enforcement officers as much as possible, because they come with an experience that's hard to beat, you know. So these are the types of things we're talking to them about. But and we may end up with a situation where we have some full-timers like myself that might be there and functioning in a security thing. But as the hours go right now, if we were to open tomorrow, I would have to rely on private security.
Right. And I would assume if you have like a cleaning company coming in there or any outside services happening, you'd have, yep, okay.
And by the way, everyone that works for us, whether they're a contractor or even Mr. Flood business, has to be background checked. Anybody who works with Patriot Care in a volunteer or business had to be background checked. So I don't think we would hire, I'm not sure.
You did a background check on Mr. Flood?
That's why he's here tonight. He passed the check, so he's good.
I was going to say, Mr. Chairman, they might want to redo that one, right?
I had to do that.
What?
Everybody has to.
I'm not even going to say what I could say. but Okay. Okay. Well, I believe, based on all the evidence, all the documentation, the plan, if we look at the criteria for issuing the special permit, I would say this petitioner, except for a couple of these, actually meets, there is a community need. I think that's been self-explained. You've addressed the traffic flow and safety, I believe, and the parking has been adequately addressed. Neighborhood character, obviously, it's kind of a mixed-use area, even including the neighborhood that's on the outside. But I believe, we've talked about that. And then the impact to fiscal impact, well, obviously, there's employment opportunities. I know you didn't mention how many potential opportunities there might be for Lowell residents, but I'm sure if there could be some opportunities. And there's also the tax base impact. So with that said, I know based on my overview, I fully support it. The only thing I'm going to ask Mr. Flood is just I'm going to take a couple of minutes and review potential conditions, and then we'll go through those and we'll move on from there.
Can I add one thing on the tax, property tax piece of it, is that we've made the commitment to the city manager that, we are a nonprofit, but we've made the commitment that we would sign we pay the tax through the lease, but that if we were ever to buy this property or buy another property in Lowell, that we would sign a pilot agreement. So it's in the narrative, but I just want to make sure that you knew that that was part of our proposal to the city.
And also, I think they want to hire local people and local concerns to handle everything within the building. So
Sure.
that's what they want to do.
Yep. Okay. Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, as mentioned, I do have additional questions for Mr. Aganis. I have a couple additional questions. For you, sir, Mr. Aganis, yeah. Just as it relates to security, will they be uniformed? They'll be uniformed outside and inside?
Yes, I believe in that. Yeah, I like seeing a presence and letting people know that, you know, it is a security official.
Will any of the security officers be armed?
Exterior, we're looking at that. It's going to be, we'll probably start with that type of a situation and see how that goes, but it's fluid. I'm talking to Deputy Superintendent Ryan about that too, so. There's pros and cons on both sides.
There's pros and cons to have.
And I think you know that by the.
Yeah, visually armed as well as non-deadly force.
Right.
And the two security agencies you represented earlier tonight are
Right.
well-respected
And
nationally.
we're also working, I've got a training protocol set up for non-lethal methods too as well, that we can train our people in and make sure that, you know, circumstances are avoided before they happen. You know, escalation, de-escalation type things.
Correct. Great. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Flood? Yep. So we'll go through the conditions first, and as long as there's no issues, then we'll proceed forward. So the first condition I have here is a host community agreement signed by City Manager Murphy and Patriot Care. I know that's in the process. Second one is a security plan. We'd like to use the Patriot Care security narrative that was submitted this evening, plus the letter dated from September 9th from Arthur Ryan, Deputy Superintendent. The third one is, I just want to put this in about no cultivation. I know it's been stated, but I want to have it in there. Fourth one is, we'll have an administrative review in 6 months. Basically get a status of how things are going out there, make sure there's no, we're not having any
No
issues.
problem with that.
Okay. Fifth one, Gary's condition was for DPD to follow up with the letters of recommendation that were submitted by you this evening. And then the sixth one was the pilot agreement with the city of Lowell. Now, is that something that's been signed yet, or
Well, that's
will be
all-
signed?
No, that's only in the event that we acquire real estate. That would be in the event we acquire real estate. We'll sign an agreement
so-
that will,
So this has nothing to do with the current facility?
no,
Okay,
that's only in the event we acquire real estate.
okay.
We pay property tax through the landlord, so that's already, so we pay our share of the building's property tax
Yep.
that way right now.
Okay,
So that's,
Great.
the city manager wanted that put in the event that we acquire property, then we would,
Yep.
we'd agree to pay.
okay, so we'll strike that one from the
We can
conditions.
put it in there in the event we acquire property. I put it in the narrative, so we don't have a problem with it.
Yeah.
It makes no difference.
So
Okay.
I don't, no.
Okay.
I'm sure you can work that out with the city manager.
And we've made a
Okay.
commitment.
All right, so those are the 5 conditions. You all set with that? Okay. All right, Dennis, could I have a motion, please?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion for ZB 2014-048 for a special permit for Patriot Care Corp. at 70 Industrial Ave East to renovate the current vacant facility for the purposes of operation of a medical marijuana dispensary.
Can I ask one question? When you're talking about the administrative review, is that 6 months from opening?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. As long as it's not 6 months, because we still have to go through the Department of Public Health.
And we'll be attaching these 5 conditions that previously mentioned by the chairman. Did you get those?
Yes, I just had one question regarding the host community agreement. Would that be in
Striking.
place?
No, we're keeping the host community. We're getting rid of the pilot.
Getting rid of the pilot, right. So the host community agreement would be agreed upon before occupancy? Is that the,
Right.
Yeah.
So we want that signed by both the city manager and Patriot. I believe that's still in
Right.
the works,
We
right?
have no problem with that. That was a condition anyways that
Yep.
they put, so no problem.
Okay, could I have a, did you read them through?
She's got them.
You all set, Judy? All right. Could I have a second?
Second.
Roll call?
Chairman Bailey?
Approved with conditions.
Member Callahan?
Approved with conditions.
Member McCarthy?
Approve with conditions.
Member Paglia?
Approved with conditions.
Member Peck?
Approve of conditions.
Member Perrin?
Approve with conditions.
Okay, Ms. Flood?
Thank you very much.
Gentlemen, you've been approved. Wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you. You're welcome. Okay, our next matter before us is ZB 2014-49. Petitions a special permit and variance. The applicant is Moore Family Realty Trust, property located at 733 Rogers Street. The petition, special permit and variance to erect a tower structure with signs at the front entry to an auto dealership pursuant to section 6.3 of the zoning ordinance.
Good evening, Mr. Bailey.
Good evening, how are you?
I'm well, thank you.
It's always good to see you.
Little sleepy right now, but
Oh, sorry.
I'll perk up. Yes, for the record, my name is Hazelwood Hopkins at 2 Phoebe Way, Worcester, Mass., representing the Moore Family Realty Trust and the Greater Lowell Buick GMC dealership. And with me tonight is Mr. Chris Dugan. He's the general contractor at the site. He's joined me in case there's a question that the board asks that I don't know the answer to. He's been rehabbing the building to reflect the current General Motors corporate standards. They've made a new facade, and they've removed all of the existing wall signs and are attempting to replace them with the new program badges. The material that I submitted to the board indicates that the Greater Lowell designation sign has been issued by right, so it will say Greater Lowell on the building, and a certified service sign. The only signs that were not issued by right are the Buick and GMC designations, and we're before you tonight to ask for a variance and a special permit for the internal illumination. Before I continue, I'd like to make a minor correction in the planning development recommendation. I think Joe talked about installing an old sign on that structure. In fact, the document reads, "A new architectural tower entry is proposed to be constructed with one of the existing signs to be relocated onto it." That is incorrect information. None of the old signs will be reused, partly because none of them are illuminated by LED. All of the old signs have been removed and discarded. The new sign that is issued by right, reading Greater Lowell, is LED. The certified service is LED. The sign that we want to talk to you about tonight is also LED. We're here because the tower structure was determined by the building department when Mr. Dugan applied for the permit to be a second freestanding sign. The tower structure, which we illustrated in your drawings, is not attached to the face of the building. There's an 18-inch space between the building facade and the entry tower structure. Therefore, the building department determined it to be a freestanding structure, and because it has a sign box on it, it would be a second freestanding sign. There currently is a freestanding sign on the lot. It reads Greater Lowell Buick GMC. It's been on the premise since 1995. And a variance was issued by this board when Mr. Sousa was the chairman and I was the applicant. It was issued to Mr. Jim Witt for his Pontiac dealership. It's been on the property ever since. It's been refaced from time to time by whatever current dealership was at the address, and currently it does say Greater Lowell Buick GMC. No changes are recommended for that pylon, but it does exist. It is the primary pylon. Therefore, the tower structure that we're talking about tonight, which would include an entrance into the building and a sign box that measures about 60 square feet, has been determined to be a second freestanding structure. The facade of the building measures, I believe, 124 feet. Therefore, the sign bylaw would allow 246 square feet of wall signage. The grand total of all wall signage, if this GMC Buick sign is approved tonight, the grand total would be 85 square feet, far less than what's allowed. And when the structure is built and the sign box is attached to it, the sign will read like a wall sign. So I thought you might be interested to know that there would only be a grand total of 85 square feet of signage that is read from the building, well below what's allowed. The zone there is RR, and as you well know, I was before you for the 495 Chrysler Dodge Jeep, which is right across the street. There's a Mazda dealership, there's a Landon Chevrolet, there's 3 or 4 or 5 automobile dealerships in that pocket. So we would suggest to the board that what we're asking for is not unusual. It's internally illuminated by LED, as are most of the signs in that area. There's a big Hannaford Market, by the way, a McDonald's, all with internally illuminated signs. I think what's different about this particular petition is that the building department deems it a freestanding structure when it looks like a wall sign. So we're asking for a variance for a structure and a special permit for the internal illumination. I think that's what I have for you, Mr. Chairman.
Well, I think you're like cornering the market on that street to begin with. Okay. And that's it for now, right?
That's it for now.
Okay. Any reason why you and Mr. Duggan weren't sitting with one another?
You'll have to ask Mr. Duggan.
Okay. Okay. All right, I'm going to open it up to the public. Anyone here like speak in favor of this petition? Favor? In favor? Hearing none, that portion of public hearing is closed. Anyone like to speak in opposition? 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 Hearing none. That portion of public hearing is closed. Open it up to the board. Mike?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just have a quick question. I'm trying to wrap my head around how, so there'll be an archway, essentially, say like the one in Chinatown that welcomes you. No. So can you help me with that? You said it's 18 inches from the building?
Do you have this in color in your packet?
I do, yes.
Oh, good. On the second page, you'll see the facade of the building as you're looking straight at it. You'll see that there is a bit of an arch, and then the word Buick GMC. And if you skip ahead to, let's see, skip 2 pages, and I highlighted the entryway again. And then the next to last page shows you just the structure of the entryway. It's isolated from the building. It's 16 feet in height and 36 feet in width across the top, narrower underneath. We'll have an entryway into the dealership, and right above the entryway would be the sign box. Does that help, sir?
Yes, it does. So the structure, as the building department said, is not attached to the building.
That's correct. It's 18 inches from the face of the building on its own foundation.
But the doors, the entryway, is not attached to this new structure.
So I think I need Chris to explain that piece.
Because I still sound clueless, is that why?
No, because what happens is when you walk through under the arch.
Can
where
you,
the sign is
can
above.
you just introduce who you are, please?
Chris Duggan, general contractor. When you go under the arch, the doors are actually it's the existing doors that are in the building itself. All this is a design element that General Motors dictates that they are supposed to use in order to have their sign in front of the building.
Okay, perfect, thank you. I don't have any other embarrassing questions for myself, Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Mike. Ben?
I have no comments, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Dennis?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I think you've done a great job of explaining why this is here before us, and the attitude of the General Motors requirements for Buick and GM marketing material to look like this. It is one of those odd things where you've got this wall sign, but it's not really a wall sign because it's a separate structure. But like you said, that ratio that you've got 246 square feet potentially that you could use on that facade, and everything totals only 85 if this were to be considered a wall sign, which it really does act as a wall sign, other than the fact that GM and has this prototype that requires it to be a sign. It's an odd one, but I think it looks great, and you've done a nice job.
Thank you, and you captured it completely.
Okay.
Thank you, Dennis. Gary?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, as always, well-prepared and informative and right to the point for your applications, and I greatly appreciate that.
Thank you.
LED, moving forward, I know we had one petition prior, and we weren't able to attain that, but we are here, and that's kind of what we look for in illuminated signs. I know the property very well. It's in my backyard. The renovations are in line with the rest of the corridor over there. The Moores run a great business over there. They're very well respected in the community with community service and nonprofits and the like. So I think it is a kind of a catch-22 that it is a separate structure, but I think overall it's a good plan, and I wish you the best of luck there.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. Sean?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I share the same sentiments. It is a very good plan. It's well put together and stuff, so good luck with that. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, well, I know in the city comments, I believe there weren't really any city comments, but just so, in the application, it says, we request relief from the maximum size allowed. So what's the relief?
Where are you reading that, sir?
Well, on your application.
On my application.
Yeah, at the very bottom. I was just trying
Oh,
to,
for a freestanding sign.
yep,
I think 50 square feet is the maximum for a freestanding sign if it represents more than one business.
Yep.
And this sign box measures 60 square feet. So if the structure is considered freestanding or a freestanding sign, the 60 square feet is in excess of the maximum allowable for a freestanding sign.
yep.
But it meets the height requirement,
Right.
and there is no setback requirement.
Okay, and Judy, I don't think there was any, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't have the printout with me, but I don't believe there was any other comments from DPD regarding this petition, correct?
No other comments.
Yep, okay.
But, Mr. Chairman, Planning and Development did ask what the proposed hours of illumination would be, and we suggest that the dealership would probably close at 9 p.m. the latest, and if the lighting could be left on for an hour, they would then extinguish it.
Okay, so,
It will not be left on overnight.
yeah, so 10 p.m., the lights are off?
Yes.
Get that? Okay, so we'll need two motions here, one for the special permit, which is in regards to the internal illumination, and then also for the variance for the structure. So could we have a motion on the special permit first, please?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion for ZB 2014-049 for a special permit for 733 Rogers Street for a freestanding sign with the following condition: that the hours of operation, that the sign is extinguished after 10 p.m.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Chairman Bailey,
Approved with conditions.
Member Callahan,
Approved with conditions.
Member McCarthy,
Approve with condition.
Member Paglia,
Approved with conditions.
Member Peck,
Approve the conditions.
Member Perrin,
Approve with conditions.
Okay, special permit has been approved. Could I have a motion on the variance, please?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion for a variance for ZB 2014-049 for 733 Rogers Street for a variance to erect a tower structure with sign at the front entry of an auto dealership with the condition that the lighting of the sign that extinguish after 10 p.m.
Okay, could I have a second?
Second the motion.
Roll call.
Chairman Bailey,
Approved with conditions.
Member Callahan,
Approved with conditions.
Member McCarthy,
Approve with condition.
Member Paglia,
Approved with condition.
Member Peck,
Approve the conditions.
and Member Perrin.
Approve with condition.
Okay, Ms. Hopkins and Ms. Duggan, wish the
Thank
best of luck. Yep, thank you.
Thank you
Have a
very
good
much.
day. Okay, our next matter before us is ZB 2014-53. The petitions of variance. The applicant is Peter Mallow of the Lowell Realty LLC, located at 246 West 6th Street. That's the property location. Petition to reconstruct an existing non-conforming multifamily structure without meeting dimensional requirements pursuant to section 4.54, 4.55, and 5.1 of the zoning ordinance. Good evening, Mr. Marlowe. How are you?
Good. Hello, Mr. Chairman. This is Peter Marlowe, 108 Norris Road, Tingsboro, Mass. Along with me tonight is my partner, David Deegan, also a resident of Tingsboro. We both grew up in the Centerville neighborhood. Not here tonight is his brother, Dennis, who was still working late tonight on the Bridge Street building. He grew up in Centerville, and he still lives on Ruth Avenue in Lowell, Mass. Also along with us tonight is Anne Marie Page and Mrs. Jordan from the Centerville Neighborhood Association. And I'll explain as I get through, I'll explain why they're here, and then I'm sure they'll have something to say. I'd like to just hand out a couple additional packets if I have permission.
Absolutely. Yep. Thank you.
I'm going to go through these packages individual for you just to go through the different things we've done. I have been in front of you before. I did meet on this project. We're trying to do a 246 West 6th Street. We met last Monday night with the Centerville Neighborhood Association, and everybody had positive thoughts. I don't know how familiar you are. I'm sure you all drove by this building, but they kindly refer to it as the Alamo. But this building was in a fire in January of 2013. And there it sat, and then it got sold in a short sale, and then somebody else bought it. And the fellow that purchased it, Matthew McVero, he was going to remodel it. So he has that building completely gutted on the inside. There's almost no wood structure left. And he spent in excess of $50,000 hand gutting the inside of the building. And he can't get anybody to even go inside. It's so dangerous. So he was recommended to us because you people granted us the buildings on the corner of Bridge and 3rd. And I'll go through that in a second. And he came down and he met with me. I gave him a tour of how we build and what we did, and he was very impressed. So we've formed a partnership. He said, just do it for me. He says, I can't get involved with this. He says, it's out of my league. He had an engineer that actually told him that he could salvage the building and remodel it. And my calculation, he'd spend close to $1 million there and have a building worth $500,000 when he got done, because it's just an eyesore. And the inside is just so dangerous. But if you look at the packet that I gave you, the very first page is just projects that David and I have done in the greater Lowell area, and we still maintain these buildings, and we take care of them, we manage them, and rent them out, and we do a pretty good job on it. So that's that part of it. The next page, which is the large picture which we took today, is the actual building, and you can see the blue sky through the windows. And the main thing that I wanted to point out at this building is the right side of this building. If you've been out there at all, the stairs of this building literally land on the city sidewalk. They're not on the property itself. They actually land on the sidewalk. So that's one of the problems in that building with that structure. The next The next large picture that I just made up for you is just to show you the progress that we've done on the Bridge and Third Street building that you were involved with. And we're pretty proud of it. It looks good. We keep it landscaped. We've got good tenants in there. We actually submitted a bid recently for the police precinct to go in there. We haven't heard on that yet, but we did submit a bid. And that building's almost completed. It should be completed January of 2015. You know, it's got the clock tower, the copper roof, so we try to put a lot into it. You know, coming from the area, growing up in Centerville, we're trying to do it. The comments we've had from all kinds of people is, can you buy the rest of the street and keep going, you know? So that's, I just wanted to show you, even down to painting the fire hydrant, just to make it look good, you know? This is sort of where we come to the meat and potatoes of what we want to do in this site. It's always a give and take on green space and on parking. And what we opted to do is tear this building down and build a building that's much smaller, has a smaller footprint, but it still maintains. It's a 6-unit building now. It's going to maintain a 6-unit building in our new structure. And what we intend to do is we preferred to get stacked parking and put 12 parking spaces underneath the building. Beauvair Street must have been resurfaced at one point, and the city really put in some great curb cuts. They have bollards there. They have, I think it's a 14-foot opening for the driveway drop. And we can definitely get in stacked parking underneath. Most of the renters we rent to only have one car, but then it gives them some extra space if somebody's visiting us. Each parking space underneath the building will be approximately 10 foot 3 inches wide. There will be no garage doors on this. It's just going to be open parking underneath. And the other thing we've done is to help the turning radius go in is we're not putting any lally columns under the first entrance. It'll be a steel beam that carries the 32-foot span. So if they're trying to turn in, it makes it easier on the turn. There will be lally columns further in because the beams will be smaller, but the initiating, the first turn coming in, there will be no beams. So it'll be each parking spot is 10 foot 3 inches. We are. If you look at the dotted line on the plan presented by Mr. Flaherty, the surveyor, we are pretty much following the left side, the dot line. What we're trying to do is square the building off, bring it closer to the street so that it's even with the houses that exist on West 6th Street currently. But then it'll give us the 33.4 feet in the back to be able to turn in under the building. We do have to go a little closer to the lot line on the right side, but that still falls well in between those big massive stairs that are there. It'll only be a 2-story structure, but from the backyard it'll be a 3-story structure because that's where the parking underneath will be. I spoke with David today. We plan on keeping, there's a small retaining wall in the front. We plan on keeping that and dressing it up maybe with some imitation stone or restuccoing it so that, because we feel it holds back the sidewalk. The current building, the 2 apartments that are currently there that he was going to be remodel, those are actually below grade, and when you walk over that wall, it drops about 6 feet, so that'll be all filled in. And the front of the building will look very much like the 3rd Street building with retaining walls, flowers, smaller trees that don't grow too large that we can trim back, and we always work with planning and development on that. If you go to the design portion, the front of the building is basically, it's 2 separate buildings. The buildings are 32 feet. When you're looking at those windows in the front, those buildings are 32 feet wide, and it goes 48 feet back. Each unit is 16 feet wide. The foyer in the middle, these are really apartments. They're not townhouses, although the design looks like a townhouse. When you walk in the front door, it'll be a commercial entrance with a buzzer. You'll walk in, and there's an 8-foot wide foyer in there for the first set of stairs. And as you walk to the back of that foyer, on the floor plan, there's a split stairway that goes directly down into the garage area down below. The garage area down below also encompasses a section for bicycles, because more and more people are using the bicycles, and it's working out over on the Bridge Street property. I think that's about it. I can answer any questions you have, I guess.
So the package you gave us this evening, Mr. Marlowe, if we get to the point of the review process, so these are all been updated for
Yes, these
September
were updated.
21st, right?
Yeah, when they requested, they wanted the certified plan, we went out and we did it as fast as we
Right.
could.
So we'll use this as the latest and greatest update to the
Yes.
submitted plans with the elevations plus the breakout of each of the units, the parking. Okay, so we'll use that as our latest set of plans to work off of. Appreciate that. Judy, I know there were comments before the new set of plans, but I don't think we saw anything else from any other city departments as of yet, right?
I did get some comments from our traffic engineer, and he agreed with the fact that because there aren't garage doors per se, and that the back of that parking area is open. He thought that there would be plenty of room for parking and maneuverability for the 6 cars, for the actually, it's
12.
for
It's
the
stacked,
12
it's stacked
12
parking,
cars.
though.
So he looked at that. He also sat down and did some measuring. So he looked at it, and I also did get a comment from the, I believe, fire department, and they said they had no issues.
Well, that was going to be my next question. Did the fire department look at it? I mean, based on the change, well, the resubmittal this evening, I didn't see anything that the fire department would have issues with, but that was one department. I was just curious. Okay.
They can't even practice on it because it's already burned down.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So, Mr. Marlowe, in regards to the, I'm sure you took a look, you've been before us enough times, the comments that did come back from the city when you did your first submittal, the landscaping, can you just hit on the landscaping? I know it looks like you've made some adjustments, but could you just go through that,
Right.
please?
We plan, and that's why I wanted to give you the 3rd Street building. It's going to be very similar to those colors and the landscaping that we did there. We will work with planning and development and come up with the right trees that they want. They're smaller trees. We'll probably have, I think we have 8.5 feet on the front, which is actually less than what we had on 3rd Street. And so we'll be able to put in some nice shrubs, some rocks, and some trees in there. So we will have a great green area in the front of the building. And one of the other things I'd like to mention is, because LED was such a big word tonight, used with the car dealership, David and I do light up these buildings tremendously now. The LED lights are just amazing. We have floodlights, they're called dual bright. And when somebody walks by, they go on even brighter, but they stay on all night long through an electric eye. And we have also small recessed lights that are all LED. They use no power. Our house meter on 3rd Street runs about $36 a month for the whole building. And it's lit up all night long. The entrances are lit up. The floods, there's three floods over there. It's all lit up. It's just amazing.
Yep.
Yep.
Good. Okay. All right. I don't have anything else at this point. Anything else you want to add before we Open it up to the
Nope.
public? Okay. Anyone here like to speak in favor of this petition? In favor?
Good evening.
Good
My
evening,
name
Ms.
is
Page.
Anne Marie Page. I reside at 26 Fremont Street. I sit on the board of the Centerville Neighborhood Action Group. I'm the current president of the Citywide Neighborhood Council, and Mrs. Pat Jordan Ducharme is here today. She is our treasurer for the Centerville Neighborhood Group. This is quite a project. We call it the Alamo, not to be disrespectful, but that's what it looks like when you go by. This building burnt down 20 months ago, and all the lucky people in Centerville get to look at it every day when they drive by. So when Mr. Marlowe said he was going to be involved in this project, we were very pleased. He came to our Centerville neighborhood meeting in September, and he made a presentation. He answered many, many questions, and the neighbors were very pleased. It's a sad thing to say, but in Centerville, urban renewal is fire, and down comes a building, a bridge, and third. Down comes a building, a bridge, and second. Half down comes a building at West Third. On Bridge and Third, Mr. Marlowe was putting up a new building, much nicer, much cleaner, add to the value of everybody's property that's near it, and definitely an improvement to our neighborhood. At the aluminum siding building on Bridge and Second, that gentleman, as soon as the building came down, started right away and put up a beautiful building. And now we are very pleased that Mr. Marlowe is going to be involved on this so-called Alamo-looking building on West 6th. And it is a shambles, and it is a disgrace, and we are very happy to hear that it is all coming down. And when you look at these pictures, I mean, if you live over there now, you couldn't give your house away, ever mind sell it, right? But you look at these pictures, and that property is going to be near your property. It's going to increase the value of your property. This is a good neighborhood. You've got school buildings right next to it. It's a very busy, well-traveled road. And he had mentioned that he had spoke to you about the landscaping. The landscaping on 3rd Street, I mean, we were looking at a horrible 4-family building that somebody never took care of. It finally came down. Then we looked at an empty parking lot. Really didn't get very well taken care of either. Now we have a beautiful 4-family building. The lights are fabulous because the bottom of 3rd Street was a very dark corner, not a place you'd want to walk. Now, because of this building at the bottom of 3rd, you have beautiful landscape. I'm not big into grass, right? So this is good. We don't have a lot of grass. We have a nice wall. We have some stones. All our little shrubs are short and sweet. It looks great. It adds to the neighborhood. And when one building starts to look a little better, slowly but surely it becomes contagious, and others start to improve their buildings. So we are very pleased about this. This was a 6-family. This was a 6-family building in very bad condition. Now it's going to be a 6-family building that you would be pleased to live in. It's going to be quite the building. It's a lot of work, it's a lot of money, but Mr. Marlowe doesn't do cheap, shoddy work. We are very pleased for this position that he's taken on this horrible building. And we love, of course, our favorite thing in Centerville is lights on, crime off. So he's got us some great lights, so we're very pleased about that. And we do have a wish list for Mr. Marlowe, so we'd like you to get him through this building so we can get on our wish list. I thank you very much for all your time and hard work, and this is a good project.
Thank you, Mrs. Page. Anyone else like to speak in favor? In favor? Hearing none, that portion of public hearing is closed. Anyone want to speak in opposition? 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 Hearing none, that portion of public hearing is closed. Open it up to the board. Mike?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a comment, one comment and one question. As a resident of West Centerville, I too am tired of looking at this building for the last almost 2 years, so I guess if it's okay to say that, personally happy to see that something is going to move forward. The question I have is, in regard to the landscaped area in the back, is that going to be landscaped in such a way to help to obscure the fact that there are no garage doors on the back? In other words, for the house will abut the back parking lot, will they eventually not be able, or not have to look at the vehicles that are parked there?
Correct. Mr. Flaherty was able, we talked about this, and he was able to get 3 feet back there, so we plan on putting some arborvitaes along that fence. There's a nice chain link fence there right now, so if we can put arborvitaes, what we did over on the Bridge and 3rd Street project is we actually put in decorative granite slabs. We cemented them into the ground, so they stand up straight. They're sort of like feature stones, I refer to them as, and then in between you put in some arborvitaes, and it really dresses it up. So it just doesn't look like a row of arborvitaes, it dresses it up a little bit more. And we plan on doing the same thing.
Okay, thank you. And I would have had a lot more questions before receiving the additional material that you provided and going through the recommendations or the suggestions that were made through the planning board. So again, that was my only question, is just to help obscure the, I like the idea of not having the garage doors, but also don't want that neighbor to have to look out their, their side window at potentially 12 vehicles every day. So.
And just to add to it, David's brother Dennis lives on Ruth Ave, which is like a stone's throw from this building. So he's in charge of going around and maintaining all these properties and making sure that there's, they're clean and kept up and no unregistered vehicles and things like that.
Thank you.
Yep.
No further questions or comments, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Dan?
I just want to say thank you for all your work you've done on this project and all the numerous renovation projects you've done throughout the city. You really helped transform a neighborhood and a community by upgrading all these buildings. So, I think this is a great project, and I wish you the best, and I hope you continue to renovate projects in Lowell. So thank you.
Thanks, Sam. Dennis?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I feel like we're repeating each other here, but what an outstanding project on 3rd and Bridge Street, though. Very outstanding. I don't think I appreciated what you were presenting, and the images are outstanding, just great. But to that point, the images that you're presenting here, I don't know, they don't really read as the finished product, and I don't know what you expect to do with the exposed foundation walls, especially. I guess that's my biggest concern here. I think that what you're doing for the massing on the site with the parking under is wonderful. It's exactly what we should be doing, getting that parking off the street, out of view. It's a huge win.
Yep.
Major plus. But we pay the penalty with all this exposed foundation wall. So can you just kind of help me out? And you're not bringing the siding down. You talked about parging the concrete or something, but
if you look at the picture of the 3rd Street building, that was a question that came up with the planning board, and that's about the maximum amount of foundation you'll see. Mr. Flaherty wants us to put a retaining wall in the back of each side to try to bring that fill up a little bit to address that exact situation. If it becomes a problem, I've never put my name on anything that looks bad. If it becomes a problem, we can strap it and bring the siding down further down to the bottom. But it won't look good. It won't look bad. It'll be addressed.
would you be open to a condition of no more than 2 feet of exposed concrete?
2 feet's a little tight. I think we have 48 inches on one side.
You do?
Yeah.
But you have 2 front doors here. This other side on 3rd Street is really a side that goes
Let me
up.
get to that plan.
I mean, you're on a corner lot here, so I think that having 48 inches of raw concrete exposed is, especially where we're relaxing these setbacks as much as we are.
Well, the front, first of all, the amount of foundation shown on the front really doesn't, it doesn't represent, at the time, as of today, I didn't realize there's a retaining wall that wraps around this entire property on the front, if you can see that in the picture. And that retaining wall is probably 24 inches high. And David informed me that retaining wall will probably be staying. So we'll probably have to pour a new concrete cap on the front of it and then reface it. So that's going to that's going to get rid of the foundation on the front of the building. You won't see any more than, you'll see less than 2 feet on the front. You'll probably only see about 16 inches on the front of the building. It's when you turn this Beauvais Street, you will see a little bit more as you go down.
So maybe that's where you strap the siding onto the foundation to minimize it.
Yeah, I'd be open
Because
to that.
You're only 3 feet from the sidewalk there.
Yep, I know, I agree.
Very tight.
Yep.
So you can't get much out of landscaping in that.
No, but the other thing we may do is, we may actually drop the foundation wall and
Perfect.
frame a knee wall.
Perfect.
Yep.
So could we still say 2 feet of exposed
Could we
foundation wall?
say, can we say 36? 30 inches.
All right, all right.
Yeah.
Great design. I don't understand the floor plan exactly, where you gave us bits and pieces of.
No, they're complete. They're basically, they're 6 townhouse style. Once you go in the entrance, you have a 16-foot wide by 32-foot, and then you have 3 bedrooms upstairs.
Oh, got it. So you're climbing quite a bit to get in that front door then?
When you go in the front door, it's approximately, again, that'll change slightly. It's probably about 8 steps to get into the front door. But they're wide. They're 8 feet, the stairs are 8 feet wide.
Okay.
Sort of like going in the front entrance of a church.
Sure. Okay, great. Thank you. No further questions.
Thanks, Dennis. Gary?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I remember this building as the Alamo, my walking trips to Barrowell's Market years ago and get the box groceries, and just even as a young child, seeing that building never fit the neighborhood, and unfortunately, as commented, fire came through and left it in disarray, and it's actually a public safety hazard at this
terrible.
point.
Yeah.
So hearing throughout the city that you were attaching your name to this project
Yep.
brought a smile to my face,
Good.
not only as a resident, but as a board member. And quite frankly, the work that you're doing in your God's country,
Yeah.
part of the world, is commendable. I think I did have some concern about the foundation, and you're always very flexible. I think
Yep.
the knee wall is a great compromise as far as leading towards the Beauvais side of the street. So the work that you're doing throughout this part of the city is well needed, and
Yep.
obviously you have some heartstrings still left with
Yep.
the city of Lowell. It's greatly appreciated. I wish you the best of luck over there, Mr. Marlowe.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. Sean?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Mr. Marlowe, I do have to commend you also as the projects you've done throughout the city. They're very well put, very well maintained. And this one as well. I mean, it looks like maybe a bit of a challenge, but I'm sure it's going to come out and
Yep.
look as spectacular as all your other projects in the city, especially, and I'm hugely impressed with the Bridge Street and Third building as well, too. So very, very well put plan, and I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. So, Mr. Marlowe, you're going to put up the building, but the other gentleman will be the owner of the...
We're going to maintain it. We're going to own it together. We're
So you're
forming a
gonna-
partnership.
So you do the property maintenance?
I'll
Is
do
that-
all the property maintenance and management.
Okay. The, on your plan, your previous plan, the proposed dumpster location, is that where it's definitely going?
Well, we've been working with, when Aaron was here before, we were working with him whether to use dumpsters, but we've been having good luck with the individual carting, and we work with the city on that. And that seems to be working out. Gets them up to put their garbage out, once a week.
Okay, so there'll be no dumpster on site?
It'll be either that or, yeah, we can make it the carts if you prefer.
Well, is there anything with the number of units on the cats? I'm trying to remember if there's a criteria that greater than X number of units you got to
Well,
go
this
with the
is
dumpster?
6 units, and the Bridge Street building is 6 units. And that's what they approved over there.
I don't know
Six?
what the limit is per structure in terms of number of carts.
Okay. So,
Not having a dumpster would make it, a lot easier for
well,
movability.
when I was looking at this, I said, okay, if you got a dumpster, and then what are you gonna do when the winter comes? What are you doing for snow? So you're gonna be maintaining the site for, you're gonna be doing snow removal?
Yes, we do our own snow
Gonna-
removal. Yep.
So it's not gonna be packed in? I'd assume you don't have any area to really...
Well, actually, the unit, the parking is so deep that they give us a recycling bin, which is fairly large, and then they give us a garbage bin. So they probably can be kept inside in front of the cars.
Yeah. Well, I don't think I'm gonna condition the issue with the refuse. I'll leave that up to you guys, how you wanna...
Yep.
Unless the city wants to say to me, no, they gotta have a dumpster, but if you're gonna maintain the property and you've had experience with the other ones, is the dumpster shown on the plan from this evening, the 21st?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, so,
But we've had much better luck with the individual carts.
yeah, okay.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, too, I believe the city ordinance is 7 units or above.
Okay.
Then you're required to
Yep.
provide your own, again, I can't verify that, but I believe it's
Yeah, they
7
still,
or above, which is
we have to
why-
purchase them, and they still charge us. The city bills us once a year. Anytime we go over a certain amount, they bill us for the pickup once a year. But it's still done on the regular basis with all the other neighbors. Yep.
Okay. Snow plowing. Yeah, well, I know we want to talk about the, I'll call it the main street there. When I sat in front of the building, and obviously I've seen the building before, just looking at other properties or locations, since I've been on the ZBA, that building does kind of stand out, but when you sit in front of it and you look at the neighbors or the property owners, both to the left and right, every home on that area, all the homes are very well maintained.
Correct.
So I can just imagine living there, whether you're, a property owner, living there full-time, or you're renting it, that particular site must really stand out, and I'll totally agree, once a new facility goes up there, it'll definitely enhance the ownership, and property values hopefully would be maintained or increased. So I believe, so you're here this evening for the variances, and obviously I think with the reconstruction of the site and the outcomes, was there any of the board members, I have a few conditions here to talk about, is there anything in particular anybody has to comment on before I go through my list of conditions? Yes?
I'd just like to
Yes.
include the foundation wall screening as one of the conditions to a maximum of
Yep.
36 inches of exposed concrete foundation wall.
Okay, well, I had that strapping. All right, so if nobody else has any other comments, just give me a couple of minutes, Mr. Marlowe.
Yep,
I
that's
want to
fine.
review what I have here, and then we'll go through them with you. Thank you. Well, I can, okay, Mr. Marlowe? Okay, I'll just go through the conditions with you, and hopefully you're okay with them. First one would be, and you had mentioned this, do a landscape plan with DPD, work with them.
Correct.
On a final design. The second would be the 30 inches of the foundation exposure.
Just lost 6 inches.
What do you want? Would you agree? 36?
I believe the agreed was 36.
Okay. Just trying to help you out, Dennis. Okay. 30-something, yeah. And then the last one was accept the plans dated 9/21/14 submitted tonight, which will not show the no dumpster on site. I just want to have that in there for the record. So those are our 3 conditions. You all set with those?
Yes.
Any issues? Okay. So could I have a motion, please?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion for ZB 2014-053 for a variance for 244 through 246 West 6th Street to reconstruct an existing non-conforming multifamily structure without meeting dimensional requirements. Do you want me to read the conditions, or do you have? Okay, I'll read.
Yeah, why don't you read them again?
With
Sure.
the following conditions. First, to work with DPD to develop a landscape plan for the project. Second, to have no more than 36 inches of exposed concrete foundation wall. And third, to accept the plans dated 9/21/14 and to include no dumpster on site.
Okay, could I have a second?
Second.
Roll call?
Chairman Bailey,
Approved with conditions.
Member Callahan,
Approved with conditions?
Member McCarthy,
Approve with conditions.
Member Paglia,
Approved with conditions.
Member Peck,
Approve of conditions?
Member Perrin.
Approve with conditions.
Okay, Mr. Mallow, been approved with conditions?
Thank
Wish
you
the
very
best of
much.
luck. Yep, thank you. Okay, looks like we have no other business, Judy, nothing else to talk about. So next meeting will be October 16th.
October 16th.
You're welcome. October 16th?
Yes.
Yep. Okay, anybody else, comments? Hearing none, have a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
So moved.